Hey guys, a lot of rumors are going around saying that Niger is raising its uranium prices from zero point 0.8 euros per kilogram to over 200 euros per kilogram. Well, this is false news, right? This is fake news. The prices of uranium is around $56 per pound, right? And if you're going to convert that to kilograms, I believe 1 kilogram is almost 2 pounds or something like that. So even if you did that, the price wouldn't be drastically different from around, let's say, $30 per kilogram, right? So no, this is fake news, right? According to what we know, based on the information, the junta have not publicly come out and stated that they will be increasing the prices by that amount. First of all, the prices, this is where it says, right? A lot of the reports are saying this. Um, over here, let me just remove this Twitter thing, right? A lot of things. Okay, the new administration in Niger has raised the price of uranium exports. Niger provides around 25% of all consumption, right, within Europe. Specifically, France uses a lot of it, right, because their energy sector is heavily nuclear, right? Now, this state says that they're taking a bold step to increase it from 0.8 euros per kilogram to 200 euros per kilogram. The reality is, it's the price is not even at 0.8 euros per kilogram, unless they had a really bad deal with France that it was, at that level. The reality is, no, there's no evidence that it was ever that low. The actual market price is around $56 per pound, right? So that's the reality over there. That if we start looking at it, some information doesn't seem to be adding up. Now, of course, this is let's look at this, right? Everyone in Nigeria feels this partnership is very unequal, right? Mahaman Lauren Gare, from former Nigerian energy minister and until 2020, the Secretary General of Organization of African Petroleum Producers, right? On the W, right? He cited 2010 statistics showing the discrepancy between the market value of Nigerian uranium and what France paid for the mineral. In Niger, he wrote, export uranium worth 3.5 billion euros, right, to France in 2010 that received only 459 million in return. Now, clearly, you can see that that's a huge trade deficit there, right? Now, look at that number, right? So this is cited by someone who was actually working as a former Nigerian energy minister. So you can crunch the numbers, and then you can actually kind of see how drastically different those numbers are, right? So let's even let's do this in my head. I'm not very great at math, but let's try it anyways. Let's assume that's 500 million, and let's assume that that's around 3.5 billion euros, right? So 500 times 2, obviously that's 1 billion over there. Greetings with IC3, right? So 500 times 2 is 1 billion, right? So 2 times 4, that will make 2 billion. 2 times 6, I guess that will make 3 billion, right, etc. Right. So if you do the math here, you realize that Niger is getting less than around 15% of the value of this stuff, right? That's a huge deficit, right? It's less than 20% according to my very basic math here. So if that's the case, and shout out to you, One Man Went to Mo, for sponsoring Bantu. What's good? Shout out to you, and greetings, Science Street, right? That is a huge deficit, right? So if that's the reality, what kind of deals were these people signing? Well, let's look at this logically, right? Even if that's the case, who is mining this uranium? Is it France? No, or is it Niger? The reality is, it's not quite as bad as you guys might think, because this is what I consider basic research. Sorry, basic trade. Let's do the numbers again, right? If Niger was the one that was actually mining, providing the heavy mining machines, was actually the one in charge of the mining sites, then this would actually be very, very bad. But the reality is, Niger doesn't have the heavy mining equipment to be the one responsible for this. Meaning, France companies like Orano, right? Orano is a company that works in Niger. That company is the one that's actually mining these products. And then the only thing that Niger is providing is, well, the land where they're mining it. I'm not saying that's not anything. I'm just saying it is the only thing they're providing. And as well as the labor, right? The men and children, sometimes, unfortunately, who work in this sort of stuff. So when you look at it more clearly, you realize, well, Niger has to industrialize, right? One of the issues, it's not just the deals with France. Yes, that deal with France has a lot of money going to France, but it's not as unfair as people tend to think. The reality is Niger is not industrialized nation, so they don't actually control the mining, right, of these companies. So that's why only around 15 to 20% of the money comes back to Niger after you export it, because France is providing everything else. Niger is only, and I say only, begrudgingly, but Niger is only providing the resources. France is doing all the work, more or less, in terms of heavy machinery investment in the mining sector and being able to go there and invest there. So the reality is, it's a little bit, it's not quite the same as what people think. Now, France, the former colonial ruler of Niger, has been mining uranium in the African country since 70s. About 3/4 of Niger's uranium goes to France. That's a lot of stuff, right? 75% of the stuff goes to France. And its former colonial powers is still the principal mining investor in the country through the French state-owned mining company, Orano. So as you can see, right, when you look at these numbers like that, we do get this emotional, an emotional feeling like, okay, something is not right. And we are correct, but it's not as crazy as we stated. One of the issues here is a lack of industrialization by Niger, a lack of investment into a mining process and mining companies to be able to add value to the product. The reality is this, right? The actual international market value for uranium is around $56 per pound, right? If the price is set that way, right, you can clearly see that there's a lot of money within the uranium processing. There is in obviously enrichment, value addition, mining, all sorts. One second. All very different areas. Anyways, let's go ahead. So, why am I calling this fake news? It's because we haven't had the junta mention anything about this increase in uranium prices. Also, based on the current market value price for uranium, we already decided that uranium prices whenever 0.8 euros per kilogram. Perhaps what they're talking about is the export value, which is very different than the actual market value of this stuff, right? The spot price is little change over because Orano sells uranium on long-term contracts, and the summer months are slow in the spot, said Jonathan Hinz. Now, look, I know you guys love all these coups and all these stuff, but let's be realistic here. Is France really as unfair as people say? And anyways, I'm going to open up the conversation. I won't be running a long stream today, but if you do want to add in your point of view, we can discuss it right now. Otherwise, I will be ending the stream, etc. But the reality is this, right? I think that France is not extra mean to its countries. I think the problem is the leaders never industrialized. The leaders never sought to actually add value to the products that they export. And of course, France took advantage of that and set prices that suited them more so than the ex-colonial countries. So that's one of the issues I think here, right? Because if Niger was industrialized, this would not be an issue. Niger could go there and be able to add value to the products, even during its mining stage, right? This is an issue that we've seen all across Africa. African countries that have oil don't have adequate oil refineries, don't have adequate oil exploration and mining companies. And that's the issue, right? A lot of these companies or countries didn't invest in all the right sectors. So when you look at all these deficits, for example, as we read earlier, that let's say an example, Niger is only getting 500 million euros for every 3.5 billion euros that gets exported, right? Again, if we're looking at that from a very, from that specific point of view, it looks bad, right? It looks like there's a lot of foul play going on, but the reality is, after analyzing these things, my opinion isn't quite as simplified as perhaps it might have been at some other point. Now, here's another proof that this is fake news. London, whatever, August the 1st, Reuters. Price of uranium has risen only slightly since the military coup in Niger last week as mining operations have continued in the world's 11th largest producer. So no, Niger did not prevent, stop, or reduce mining operations ever since the junta. Let's be realistic, guys, okay? What junta or what rulership in their right mind would more or less stop producing something that feeds their nation. Let's be realistic here. Niger has right now, or at least had, I'm not so sure if it's changed. Niger had things happening to them, sanctions and embargoes initiated by ECOWAS. Niger is, I believe, landlocked, right? And it requires stuff to come through either through Nigeria or some of the surrounding countries. Now, if ECOWAS put such a thing against them, right, food and other useful stuff being prevented from going through, why would they prevent and halt production that feeds their nation? I think sometimes we do need to kind of look at these things more logically, right? Niger is not in a special position to just halt everything, right? This coup might be able to gain more better contracts, but the reality is, unless you industrialize, you're not going to be able to leverage those contracts at any high level. Let's be realistic here. And Namdi says it's not a fake news. That's fact. Niger Revolution government has risen. Yeah, can you show me the evidence? Can you link? Let me. I want to see evidence here because I haven't seen any evidence. And that's again doesn't make sense, right? It was never $0.8, right? The market value, as I stated, of uranium, right? This is the market value internationally. It's $56.25 dollars a pound. That is not close to 0.8. That is not, it's just not possible. So if you want, I've sent the link there on the chat. Call in. You don't have to call into the show, but you can click on the link on the private chat. Send me an actual video or transcript from the Nigerian junta claiming this. This is fake news. There's no evidence of it. I've not seen it written or stated by anyone in the Nigerian either energy minister or anyone else. It's not anywhere, right? So that just cannot be accurate, right? Definitely not accurate. Uranium prices ticks after, it's not, right? The international market value right now showing that it's only increased by a small amount, right? It's not true, right? It's fake news, according to all the evidence that I'm able to master. Let me see if I can find more information on different sources, but as it stands, this sounds very, very more or less just fake news. Okay, let me find one more source. Okay, yeah, it's all coming from African channels. How the coup? Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Yep, another African channel. I'm not seeing anything that actually shows that Niger has actually risen anything from a reputable source. I'm just seeing African channels right now. Nothing. Nothing. Yeah, nothing else. Let me see. Let me share my screen again. Right, but okay. So I'm sharing my screen right now. This is not a reputable media source. This is a African channel just like mine. This one again, another African channel just like mine. Again, another African channel just like mine. France 24. No, this is not nothing related. Niger prices. Again, another African channel. I'm not seeing any reputable source of media at all. Zero of them claiming this fact. I've not seen any reports by the junta themselves. Again, another African channel just like mine. All I'm seeing so far is just random channels that are saying this with no actual evidence of the prices. And I already stated the price of uranium was never that low. It is actually the international market value, $56 per pound. Anyways, what's good, Solly? What do you think of this situation? Do you think it's fake news? And if you think different, do you have any sources or data where I can find a reputable source from the junta or someone or just a reputable news channel claiming that this is the case?
Hello, my fellow people. And when I say my fellow
Hello?
people, hello, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So when you say is France influence really bad on Africa, I can't believe I'm hearing you say that. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. You are saying that they are just taking advantage of the situation. If
Yes.
one European country were to do what these countries that you claim that they are taking advantage of, would France do business with that European country if they were doing the same thing? No,
Of course not.
right? But
Mhm.
because it's not Europeans that are suffering from them doing business with these countries, they do it.
Yes, but there's a
Why
reason why.
didn't?
Okay, go ahead.
Why didn't? There's no reason. There's absolutely no. I don't care about their reason. If they can't do it with their own people, but they can do it with us, then there's no reason. I don't care about their reason. Okay.
Mhm.
Why didn't China and Russia take that same route? Why? If that's the only choice left to them, why didn't China and Russia, and now let's even say Iran, take that route? Because they love it and they support it and they pushed for it. And this is what they want. Most of it is set up by them. So how can you say their influence is not that bad? They are just taking advantage of it. Did we tell you that we wanted to be taken advantage of? Is that the voice of the majority or the voice of France? Exactly.
Hmm.
So even the stolen money, where is it going to? Europe. If a European steals money, are they going to let him open bank account and store his money there? Oh, but he's stealing from Africans, so he has privilege to take his stolen money and put it in Europe, right?
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the equality and human rights, right?
Right. That's
So,
what they
so, so,
say.
so it's all just nonsense. You see them rushing to add African Union in G20. You see them trying to play nice. You see them. Let me ask you a question. If China and Russia did not enter Africa, would they be doing all these their niceties?
Oh,
Would
of
they?
course not. Right.
We will,
100%. There will
we,
be
we
worse.
will beg. We will
Yes.
beg. We will plead. We will make sacrifices. We will sacrifice our unborn children to enter that G20, and they will still say no. Even if we have all the qualifications, they will still say no.
Mhm.
Do you know why? They fear equal competition. Do you know why they fear equal competition? Because they know the reality, which is they are not capable to compete on the same level with everyone. They make everyone feel like they are the best in every fucking thing. Sorry, excuse my language. They make everyone feel like they are the best in everything. They invented everything. They know everything. There are people to have ingrained that kind of psychology, right?
Mhm.
And they move around the world with that kind of mindset. They tried to play China and not allow China to have access to cheap technology. Is that competition? Pressure
No.
makes diamonds. Now, China is now manufacturing that their own chip, right? USA influenced these European countries to not sell chips to China. USA till today, USA is still doing business with Russia, but they tell Europeans, "Oh, Russia bad. Don't do business with Russia." The only person that is suffering is Europeans. Now, China is producing the chip that Europeans could have been making millions and billions from. Now, China does not need Europe for that chip anymore. Who lost? Europe again. Did they think that the people in China are stupid? Did they think that the people in China don't have the resources to get the materials to make that chip? Did they think the people in China are not going to university and going to school and studying that same program that your professors and your engineers studied to make that chip that you have? But their mindset is that anybody outside Europe and America is dumb and still living in their villages, still living backward life. Everybody has developed, and that's the sad thing. Developing countries are getting the newest of everything. Developed countries are not getting anything brand new. So when everybody develops, guess who is going to be looking like a third world country? Exactly.
Hmm.
Their elites know this, but you see something. When we think that, oh, these Europeans, they are evil, they are wicked, they don't care about us, it's not true. They don't care about anybody. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Asian, they just don't care about anybody. That's just how they are. Even if they could oppress their own people, they would, right?
Right.
But it's more favorable to oppress others. That's just their nature. They have no resources. It's like a man that does not know how to do anything finally found a place where he could be taking gold. Of course, it's going to take as much gold as possible. And the desperation that you will always remember that I came from nothing, I have nothing. So he's always going to do everything to keep on getting as much as he can get as possible, no matter what it takes.
Yes,
I
yes.
will
Okay,
not
shout out to
say
that.
France is not to be blamed. Okay, look at Burkina Faso. Iran is coming to come and build a refinery. Why didn't France build it all these decades? And I won't even say years, decades, centuries. Why didn't France build it? Because of competition. What would France not gain from developing these countries? Will these countries be supporting Russia? Will they be siding with China and Russia if you just give them simple, basic amenities? You are sucking trillions from them. You can't even give them 1 million. You are talking about you are giving them aid. You will literally print their money in your country out of thin air. You don't use the money. And you are giving them aid with that money that you printed out of thin air. And you are still taxing them for giving them that money that you printed from thin air. Literally infinite money glitch. And you are using that money that you printed from thin air to buy their resources. Like, what? WTF? Like, what kind of rubbish is this? Imagine you grow tomato. Somebody prints paper and tells you that, okay, give me your tomato for this paper that I will not use, that has no value in my country. And if you don't do it, we'll kill you. Is that not slavery?
Of course it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a
But just
question.
organized like a mafia, organized slavery,
But let me
modernized
ask you,
slavery.
Solly, and this is why I initially said France is not as bad as we think. Whose responsibility is it for us to know how the game is played and then play the game better than? I say it's the onus is on us. I always use this analogy. If someone hits me with a car, Bill Gates hits me with a car, okay? Of course, I can get a lot of money from him because he doesn't want to go through the legal process. I can probably get millions from him if Bill Gates hits me with a car, or let's say his daughter hits me with a car. Now, here's the issue. Even if he still has to pay me some millions in compensation, that's not enough. I have to go
Mhm,
put myself through rehabilitation. So what I'm saying here is,
mhm.
yes, France is France is exploiting us. France is doing all these things, but I'm saying the onus is on us. We have to be the ones now responsible for our healing. If we don't then learn, okay, well, so we now know why they're doing this to us because we didn't have leverage. There was no competitors in the market like China or Russia, and not just that, but also because of how they left after colonialism, they didn't really leave, right? They set contracts, they put up elites who continued those contracts, and then with one of the contracts, I'm sure was the reason why Nigeria never even got a mining company set up, is because the elites don't want the mining companies to come in because they actually make way more money taking all these kickbacks from France than they would if Niger becomes
Mhm.
industrialized. So one
Okay.
of the
Who,
issues
who,
is
who,
our own
who,
leaders
who
preventing this.
supported those leaders to be there? Can I ask you a question? Who supported those leaders to be there?
Of course, it's France.
Exactly. So how does that count? If a lion is locked up in a zoo, we all know the capabilities of a lion. Why doesn't the lion just escape? Why?
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. The only way the lion is going to escape is if someone helps it escape.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the lion can defeat everybody in that zoo. Why doesn't the lion escape?
Okay,
Because they've
so
been
where
put in
the
a well-placed zoo.
mm-hmm.
We have passports that we cannot use to leave our country. We have to pay a lot of money. We have to show proof of a lot of funds before we can even cross our border to another country in our own continent. How are we going to get the exposure? How are we going to get the enlightenment? How are we going to get the knowledge? Because we're in a well-constructed zoo. So you,
Yeah,
you
this is
can blame us all you want, but who constructed everything? For, for,
right.
for everything we lacked, for everything we still lack, who constructed it?
Sure,
Who
it's
who
them,
who
but mhm,
wait, who perpetuates dehumanizing Africans so that people will not feel what they are doing to Africans is as bad as it is? Who perpetuates it the most?
right,
Because if
it's
you make
them.
someone, if you make a human being seem like a cockroach, then everyone will perceive them as a cockroach. If you squash a
Mm.
cockroach, do you feel anything? No. So why would anyone feel bad for us or help us
Then what's the solution,
unless
right?
they are being squashed like cockroaches too?
Mhm. Then okay, question
Yeah.
is then what's the solution? How can we not be perpetually in this state that we're in?
We have to play them. We have to see. We have to take advantage of our situation. For the first time ever, we have we have, what do they call it? Leverage, right? We have
Hmm.
we have people that want to back us also for their own interest. I do not care about that, but as long as my interest is included, then I care,
Yeah.
right? These people are
Okay.
being oppressed in the same way, right? So
Hmm.
they could either go the route of the Caucasians and their solution to every problem is fighting war, or
Hmm.
they could do what North Korea has been doing for years, make themselves as strong as possible and threaten war. Why they develop? Because these people don't want you to develop. Their biggest fear in their entire life is you developing. Yes, they've stolen
Hmm.
so much gold, they've stolen so much oil, they've stolen so much everything. But after a while, no matter how much you stock your storage, eventually it will finish if you cannot replenish it, right? Even if it's going to
Yeah.
take 20 years, 50 years of them doing normal deals, at one point it's going to finish. So we should just take advantage of our situation. We have internet, we have social media, we have countries that are willing to back us, not because they want us to fight war with them, but because
Hmm.
they want us to have leverage so that everybody will be equal. If you go to a classroom and the teacher is only supporting one person, right? Obviously, that person is going to succeed. But if you go to a classroom and you give everybody equal opportunity, the best will come out on top, right?
That's
So
true.
in Asia, you have the best in certain products. In Africa, you have the best in certain products. In USA, they also have raw materials. You have the best. Now, it is up to the Europeans to work 10 times as hard as they usually work before because they have no resources to get to everybody's level. They literally have no choice
Yeah. And
unless
just
they want to
one second
start.
before, yeah, before I respond to that, Jeanette, the reason why I said that is false, is fake news, is because even if you do the numbers, these numbers are what's given to us by the Nigerian energy minister. It was never 0.8 euros per kilogram, and now apparently 200 uh, euros per kilogram. This is the real prices we can actually work out from here. Um, Niger was exporting 3.5 billion and then getting back 500 million. If you do the math, yes, that's poor. I think that's 15%. But it's not whatever they're claiming it is today. But here's the issue, Jeanette. One of the big problem is this, right? As a brother Sol explained, or Soli explained, they're taking money from the printing of the money that's already going, percentages going there. They're taking money from them coming in and providing the heavy machinery. They're taking money from apparently providing the engineers, because they don't train the engineers there either. I'm sure they're the ones taking control of the whole project from the top level. They also take claiming money for the probably roads that they claim that they helped to build, taking money from the export tariffs as well. So if you look at all of that value chain, that's why you're getting less than around 15% back to Niger, and that's terrible. But there's ways to resolve some of this, not all of it. First of all, Niger either has to work with a new mining company where there's value exchange. If, for example, Niger brought in China, it can't just be China built. Chinese mining company comes in. No, it has to be a Chinese mining company that is 50% stake holding shares by the Nigerian government. There has to be a value exchange between the engineers so that the Nigerian engineers can actually at one point just fully take control of the upper level management. It has to be a proper contract that allows for value addition. Because if we don't do that, then what if China collapses? What if China has a new regime? There's always, these are variables that we have to consider. So whatever
Can I
comes in, yeah, go ahead.
can I tell you how Nigeria does its own? Nigeria does its own in a way called PPP. That's
Mhm.
public-private partnership. It
Okay.
means, like, for example, we have our railway, yes, built by China,
Mhm.
but the way the funds will go is, for example, uh, they will build it, right? But they will collect
Mhm.
a fee. For example, if the fee for one trip is 750 naira, right? The
Right.
Chinese company will probably collect 50% of that fee for the next maybe 20 to 40 years, right?
Mhm.
And after
Yeah.
that, the money they've invested, they've gotten it back plus interest. That is how we've been doing deals with all these countries. That is how we want to do deals with countries from now on. We went to go and do a deal with India. We are getting almost $14 billion. They are coming to invest, public-private partnership. They will build the infrastructure. They will get some of their workers there. Obviously, they will hire Africans. And then from that deal, they will get a percentage of every money that is made over a certain period of time. That is the thing that makes the most sense. It can be 40 years, 50 years, 100 years. And what that does is it reduces our dependence on taking loans, because that's one of the worst things that we can be doing. It is better to take investments than to take a loan, because the loans are predatory. So, yes, you might say we have leaders that, and you see, this is the difference between Anglophone and Francophone countries. Why is it that Anglophone countries have leaders that can at least give us a fair deal? And Francophone countries, you have people that they put in power that are giving some of the worst and most unfair deals ever. And then you say you don't blame France. No, I do.
No,
150%. I do blame them.
see. So let's be real. If you check deep down, you will blame France, blame the leaders over there. When you
Okay,
stick
okay, okay.
your feet on the
Okay. Let me
ground
tell you
and
something
negotiate,
about. Wait,
hold
just
on,
one
and
minute. Let me
negotiate
tell you
better
something
deal for
about
your country,
what happened to. Okay, you want to blame the leaders? What happened to the leaders that tried? Where's Thomas Sankara?
that's
Where's
way
that guy
back.
that was
Let's
from? Wait,
see,
wait,
let's be
just 1
real.
minute. Just one
These
minute.
people can
Where's that guy that
negotiate
was?
a better
Wait
deal for
now.
themselves.
Let me give you which negotiate. Have they not tried to negotiate? What happened to them? Look at that guy that they took from Congo. They took him to Belgium. They melted this guy's body. They tortured him, and all that was left of him was his teeth, a tooth, a
Okay.
freaking tooth. And you say that they should come and be doing fair deals.
Let me tell you
Who
why
is
there's
going to do fair?
problem.
Who is going
Hold
to
on,
do
let me
fair
tell you.
deal? Who is going to do fair deal when these people are going to cut your body into pieces and even melt
Okay,
you
let me.
and
Okay,
still
okay, I
wait and
understand.
still wait?
That was in the
Let me
60s.
finish. Let me tell you what they are doing to leaders that are asking for fair deals. Let me tell you. And then they will still seize your corpse. Can you just see the desecration? The desecration. These are people asking for fair deals. And you say that, oh, everybody should
Yeah.
just come out and be asking for fair deals, like it's going to play out good for them.
Okay. So sorry.
Let me ask you,
Yeah.
just ask you one more question. Can you go to this country and help them ask them for fair deal? Put your life at risk since it's so easy. Since it's so easy to talk, you
Now,
do
I'm not
the
a citizen
action.
of that
Go
country,
to
so
those countries and
I
ask
cannot
for a
make
fair
a
deal
deal
too.
for their country. I don't understand. They own the
Okay,
land.
they should
They
go
will
and sacrifice
decide
their
on
life, but you
how the
don't want
deal
to.
goes.
It's
Okay, for
easy to
instance,
talk,
if you look
it's
at
hard to
Nigeria
do.
oil industry, there's a
It's an
percentage that
anglophone
Shell got
country. It is
from.
an anglophone speaking country. It's an anglophone
Okay,
speaking country.
okay.
There's a difference. We
So
have more
let's
freedom.
blame France for everything, not our own leaders. See,
Okay,
let's
see,
see.
you can try
Most of
to
this country,
look.
the reason
You can
why
try
this
to
is
blame the
like
leaders.
that is that there are infighting in most of these countries. So sometimes they agree on this what they call it this deal, and in return
Give me examples. Give me
France
examples.
will protect the leader in power. Then in return, so that's it. So if you
Okay, give me
decide
examples.
examples,
You said that
are they
France will protect the leader. Will France protect the leader if it was happening in Europe? Will
it
France
will
protect
happen
the
in
leader if
Europe
it was
after?
happening in Europe? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, the such things cannot happen in Europe.
Yes
That's it.
or
That's
no? It is a yes
it
or
will
no
not happen.
question.
Hold on, this is not about yes
Exactly.
or no. It will not
Exactly.
happen in that region. So
And what will happen to that region, will France not cut ties with them and put sanction on them?
Okay, as they decide to do it now,
Yes or no?
hold
Yes
on,
or no?
hold on.
Yes
So,
or no?
as they decide
Yes,
to do
it
it
is a
now,
yes or no question.
Is France there now
It is a
killing
yes
everybody
or
there?
no question.
Are the
It
French
is a
killing
yes or no
everybody there
question.
now? It is not by yes or no. This thing. Are the France killing? As they
So you
increase the
won't answer
price,
my yes or no
is
question.
as the as they increase the price now, is France killing everybody there now?
It is a
Answer
yes or
me.
no question.
Is
It is a
France killing
yes or no
everybody there
question.
now? This is not about yes or no.
They are
Are they
encouraging.
killing
They
people
are
there? Hazel,
they are
Sorry,
encouraging the
sorry, it doesn't want to
corruption.
do yes or no
They are
question.
encouraging
So
corruption.
there, it's not a yes or no question. It's a
thank
nuance.
you.
No, no, it is a yes or no question. They
I
are
don't want to do yes
encouraging
or no there.
corruption. Let me okay,
No, he
UFC.
doesn't want to
UFC.
be led by you. He wants to have a perspective. So if you give him yes or no, then you are leading him to where you want to go.
That's the point. I want to corner him.
And I'm not ready to do that with you at all because you see all this constant blaming outsider for our problem. I'm not part of it. If you look deep down, we are the problem. Sometimes you have a country full of sellout opposition who will do everything, even if the president is fighting for the country to get better deal, they
Okay,
will go
can I
behind
ask you a
and
question?
plan to remove that president. So you cannot blame France for everything.
Can I ask you a question? Is it only Africa that has sellout leaders? Yes or no?
Everybody has,
Yes or
but
no?
at least the opposition in those countries they are mindful of, at least they put their country
Okay,
first.
okay. I'll repeat my question. Is it only Africa that has sellout leaders? Yes or no?
It's not about yes or no question. Don't do yes or no question.
Is it only Africa that has sellout leaders? Yes or
Forget
no?
all this yes or no now. Nobody's interested. Present
No,
your
but
opposition.
he has to
No,
answer
no,
my
no,
question.
no,
He
You
no,
wants to
no,
run
proceed
no.
away.
and give
Hold on, sorry,
listen, just proceed and
hold on. Can you hold on?
load and
Present
yeah.
your position and let him present his. If you are giving him yes or no,
Okay,
then you are stacking him up to where you want to go. So present where you are.
that's
Let
my
him
point
present where
now.
he
That's
is.
how to debate. Okay, let me get to my point. You are saying it like having sellout leaders is unique to Africa. It is not. But when you encourage, you give them the foundation, the ability to thrive being sellouts, then obviously more sellouts will come out. But if you give them no barrier to be a sellout, you do not allow them to store their stolen wealth in your country, you do not do business with them, you sanction their country, it is surely going to reduce the amount of sellouts. Yes or no? Yes. So you can say, oh, you blame our people, this thing. Yes, you can also blame the people for having armed robbers in the country if you don't put police there. You
Okay,
can
so
also
sorry,
blame.
let
No,
me
wait,
ask.
Let me finish my
Okay, go
position.
ahead.
If you do not put police in a country, will the armed robbers increase? Yes. If you put police in a country, will the armed robbers reduce? Yes. So you can say, oh, we blame the people for being armed robbers. No, there will always be armed robbers. It is your job to put them in jail, not to encourage them. You
Okay,
can't blame
yeah.
human beings
So
for being
you
human
see
beings.
the
Why do
Niger
we have laws then? If,
Niger
if, if people
leaders,
don't do anything wrong, then we
okay, let
won't
me
have
say this.
laws. We won't have prisons.
The Niger leaders, they would have taken the position they took now long ago. They would have
They would
done
have
it,
been
let me
dead.
say, a
They
decade
would have
ago or
been
two
dead.
decades
They would
ago.
have been dead.
No, they
They
will
would have been
no,
dead.
no, no, they wouldn't have been.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Where's Thomas
Are they
Sankara?
dead now? Are they
Where
dead
is
now?
Thomas Sankara? Where
You
is
are
Thomas
see,
Sankara?
this is not
Where is
1960.
Thomas Sankara?
This is not in the
Where is
60s
Thomas
or
Sankara?
70s. Oh,
Where is
don't
Thomas
compare
Sankara?
then and now. Come on, you know that.
Okay.
Let's be realistic here.
You
Don't
just
compare
you just
then
want
and
to
now.
you just want to blame human beings for
Wait,
being
wait, one
human
second, one
beings.
second. Let's let Tanaja come in. Tanaja, did you hear the conversation so far, or were you waking up?
I had a conversation to an extent regarding yes or no and whether to blame.
Okay, so let me
Whether,
start. Let me start from the beginning. There's
okay.
it's a misinformation going on across all around, saying that Nigerian junta is resetting the prices from 0.8 euros per kilogram to 200 euros per kilogram. This is fake news. I've gone through.
Which is the international market price?
The international market price is like $100 per kilogram. It's not $100 per kilo. Oh, wait, yeah, $100 per kilogram. So this is not true. This is not true. The reason I say this is not true is because I've actually linked the data from the Nigerian Minister of Energy. He states that from every 3.5 billion that was leaving export value of uranium, Nigeria was getting back 500 million. You do that math and you realize that the math is not mathing. That means Nigeria in that system there is getting around 15%. In this system, it's saying like Nigeria is getting less than 7%. 7%. So it's close. The numbers are close, but not quite exact.
See, so I guess I don't know where such information comes from. Then it's something that
hasn't come from anywhere reputable. I've checked all the news informations. I've looked at. It's not coming from anywhere. Whether African news source is just coming from channels like ours, where people have seen something on Twitter and then they're just.
I guess that's. I think it's fake news then.
It's fake news, yeah. The information is.
Somebody probably misread some document. You tend to find that sometimes, and it depends on how it is interpreted. I've also had cases where somebody says something, they say, "Oh, it's complete rubbish," but it turns out that there was substance to it, because if you are listening to the way they put the assertions, if you look deeper, then you find that, like, there was a case of this medicine that they were using for diabetes now. That has led to the company's this value being up to almost 500 billion in dollars. And somebody was like, "Oh, you're saying that the drug is medical? The drug is a 500 billion dollars worth of." No, but the value of the company, the capital value, went up to 500 billion dollars. So that was what the person that was making the assertion was saying, but somebody just heard it and thought they were talking about the drug itself being worth $500 billion. So, and which wasn't the case. The drug wasn't raking in $500 billion every year for Denmark, actually. So sometimes maybe that's what's happened here. Somebody saw something. There was maybe somewhere they saw 0 point something dollars, and then they extrapolated to $200 and thought, okay, that's what happened. And then you just get fake news out there. I doubt most people in this space will just deliberately manufacture fake news. It's just maybe clumsy research that probably happened there. But it's a good thing that high IQ people like you, as you like to call yourself, is out there doing the critical work of finding out that they are doing some silly stuff there. But that said, the fact remains that even from your statement, that they are still losing a lot of money from their own natural resources. I think it's bad. I think Nigeria's one is even worse, actually. Nigeria, we are not just losing money. We are not just losing money. We are losing money from selling our crude oil, because we have to buy petrol at a higher price sometimes. And because the refined petrol is more expensive in terms of kg per this thing than the actual crude oil. So from the point of view of this report, I think you did a good job to find out that I'm not sure anybody has called this out, actually. So, credit to you, Kezo, for doing that. But this question of, yes or no, this thing. See, UFC, we've had this conversation several times. It's not one-sided. The two of them are correct. You can hold yourself responsible for something while still saying, okay, this person is causing problems for you. I can. What kind of example? There are many examples in life where that is true. You might be a driver. You are responsible for your car, putting car insurance and all the rest. But somebody comes and knocks you. Is it your fault? The stuff can still happen, and you can still hold that person that this thing hit you accountable, while still holding yourself accountable for being responsible to put insurance in your car, making sure you are doing the right thing yourself. So it's not only one-sided. Two things can be correct at the same time. In the case of our Africans, we don't even put insurance in our car. We don't do any of those things. We are bad, which makes you correct on that point. But the trouble of the Europeans are still there. So, and if somebody like Sol is calling it out, you shouldn't be faulting them, saying that they're just blaming only Europeans.
Okay, true, but Niger, I think you have to close your other channel.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Niger, you are right. But here's some of the issues that I have, I guess, with Soli's argument is sure, he is attributing blame to them, but as you already said, they don't care about us. So we should even forget them as a factor in this whole solutions program. We need to make sure we know the issues. Why is Niger getting only 15% of the money from exporting a resource that grows in their country? Why? One of the issues is mining. Niger doesn't have mining companies. They don't have adequate.
But why would you forget a driver that wants to run into you
So
when you're
Niger,
driving on the road? You
No,
can't
no, no.
forget the
Tonight,
driver.
I'm not saying forget. It's something that we know. We've already established it, and now we're working towards solutions that doesn't involve bringing them up recurrently. We already know that, right? It's like, no, okay, if I go to northern Kenya, near the border with Somalia, I have to be protected. Like I know there's going to be Al Qaeda members. It's something you know, and
But
you're
isn't that
already-
what he is doing? That's exactly what he's doing. He's saying we should now act and say this is what we need to do. We should
No,
recognize that
it
there's a
didn't give
problem
any
there.
solutions. No, it didn't give any solutions tonight.
The solution starts from recognizing that
No,
you need to do
tonight,
something.
you're sure, but you're expressing what you think he's going to say, but that's not the discussion in that moment. We have to remain
Okay,
true to the
I
discussion.
thought I heard
at the
him
point.
say you can't trust these people.
Yes, I did hear that.
Exactly.
But that's
So
not a
that is
solution
where it
tonight,
starts from. No, but that's where it starts from. You can't. But to just say he's wrong for saying that.
No one said he's wrong.
That's what the UFC is saying now, that you keep blaming people that you should worry about what other people are doing.
Okay, I'll tell you this. I use the analogy to Niger. If Bill Gates' daughter hits me with a car, right? Who's at fault?
It's Bill Gates that hit you with the car.
Yes,
but if you don't have insurance, it's your problem too.
No, hit me on the hit me not on my car. Hit me on the street. I'm a passerby, and she came onto the curb and hit me into the walking.
Yeah,
curb.
she is at fault.
Okay. Now, who's responsible for making sure I go through rehab and heal?
She is responsible.
No,
but
I'm responsible.
But in the real world, no. I mean, in terms of paying for it, in terms of insurance, if there was
no, she'll pay for it. But I'm responsible for going through the hard work of going through rehab if I want to walk again.
Yes,
that's what we're talking about here. France might be at fault for giving us bad contracts and putting in puppet leaders, but we're the ones responsible for the step it takes to heal ourselves. I hope that's making sense there. I don't want us to
but that is what he is doing. That's I don't know why you don't understand what I'm saying. What he is doing is saying we should recognize that.
We don't need to recognize it. This is already we recognize this 50 years ago.
Okay, then why didn't you just tell him that you recognize that? Now let's talk about solution instead of faulting him for calling it out.
No, you're talking about UFC.
No, I agree. See, I agree with him, but I just want us to also take some blame. So that's my position.
Of course, we are ultimately responsible. In the end, we are more to blame than anyone else. In short, the ultimate blame is on our death. You know how
lie. We are not the one to be blamed.
You see, tonight, now you're disagreeing with me. Thank you very much.
No. Excuse me. You cannot tell me that you took me to a class where everyone has advantage except for me. I have to struggle to get to the same level where you are, not because of my situation, but the situation that you put me in the first place. You put me with so many obstacles in my front, and then you are now expecting me to take the full blame. Are you okay? If I put you in the same condition, will you get to this? No, wait. If I put you in that same situation that you put me in, if I put you in that same situation that you put me in, will you put all the blame on yourself? No, they would not. Why do we want to be doing what these people will not do? Why blame myself for being in a condition that I didn't put myself in?
Actually,
why would I blame myself?
As a people, we put ourselves in that condition. Don't you see that?
Is it by
we allowed it to happen?
We put ourselves by free will? Is it by free will?
Yes, because let me just say this. Yes, because as human beings, just as they come to your country to exploit you, you have the power. Hold on, as human beings, you also have the power to overcome them. So the fact that we didn't overcome them, you can't just blame them for overcoming you. This is how the world works. You can't tell a leopard that goes and takes the baby of an antelope that, you know what, leopard, you are blamed. And so because the antelope will be saying, oh, why should you take my baby? No, the leopard has to feed her own child. That's how it works. So you can't just sit there and say,
So we
oh,
are
why should you take
antelopes.
advantage of me?
We are antelopes and they are wait. So we are antelopes and they are leopards. Is that
That's
what
how
you are
you are
saying?
talking. You are talking like we are antelopes. We should just be
No,
griping
Teenager,
about
for
it.
the first time, I want you to apologize
you are
to
the one that
UFC
says
and
that.
for me for your Teenager babble. You've been caught out. You see, the brother's making a very different point.
No,
Teenager.
no.
We
On
want to
that
hear
one,
the
on that
apology.
one,
The
okay.
Kaizo and UFC, you all right?
You know what? My
Teenager,
apologies. I'm not going to. See, this
Teenager.
guy is wrong. If that's what the way he's looking at it, he's wrong. And so
No. Are you going to let me say my own piece?
go ahead.
You have people fighting with guns, and you have people fighting with sticks and stones. Your own analogy is saying that because we are fighting with sticks and stones, it is our fault that we are losing.
Yes, exactly. No mercy in this world. You have to cater for yourself. What kind of a man allows other people to run over his family, run over his society, and don't take responsibility for it? Have you heard of the concept of falling on your sword, taking responsibility and harakiri? You take responsibility for your failings and act.
Wait, so let me jump in. I think there's something to be UFC touched on this idea of sellout opposition. Wait, let me dive in. This idea of sellout opposition. So I feel like, when someone comes to a family unit, right, an outsider, and wants to cut a deal, the father who's in charge of that family unit, there are certain deals he wouldn't strike because it's his family, right? Oh, sell me your first son and I'll give you, that's not going to happen, right? When these leaders come to these African nations, you have opposition parties that, because they're and maybe the prisoner's dilemma applies to this in a way, they're afraid the other parties will sell out. So then they sell out because they want to be in power, because they don't want the other parties to be in power. And they sign such deals that kind of screw over the nation, all in an effort to be in charge, right? So that's why you have leaders who are in charge for 50 years. Their country doesn't improve because they just want to be in power, so they sign any kind of deal. So there's some kind of personal accountability where these opposition parties are willing to sign deals that fuck over the entire nation, all for their lust of power. There you go. So we have to be held accountable.
Who brings those terrible deals? Who is bringing those terrible deals? Who? Why are those people not bringing fair deals?
Come on, if you want to sell me your house for $1,
I can't believe the kind of thinking you have. You can't see. Sometimes you forget that you are a grown man. You have a right to sell yourself.
You want to sell your house for $1? Who am I to stop you? I mean, come on. I didn't even realize you would sell your house for $1, but you were willing to sell it for $1, and you want to sell me your wife too? Okay,
my brother.
How
you take get Africa American mentality, this victim mentality? Where you forget them?
You see what this UFC does. This stuff is quite distasteful. Why did you drag African Americans into it now?
It's not an African American thing. It's just
come on.
I'm sorry, everyone.
I have this mentality because you would not do this. You would not do this to your own people, right? And then the people that are trying to make fair deals with us, you are trying to sabotage it also, so that you can continue to give us unfair deals.
So why are our leaders signing such sellout deals? That's the question. Because if it's a family, that's not sell out his own family.
That is the only deal. That is because that is the only deal we had then to sign. Now we have competitors who are ready to give us better deals. Are we still taking those rubbish, nonsense old deals?
What do you mean that's the only deal you had to sign? The Chinese didn't say that that's the only deal they had to sign.
Kind of sign a bad deal. So I'll give them that. All African nations signed a bad deal.
The Singaporeans didn't say that's the only deal they had to sign.
Why did all Africans sign a bad deal? That's one question we have to wonder. Because in Asia, some people got good deals. India, some people got good deals. Why is every single African country signed a bad deal?
Caesar, 1 second. Let me just clarify. 1 second, Teenager. Sorry, 1 second. Let me just clarify something. The deal isn't just bad because of the money. The money is the most irrelevant part. The deal is bad because of the longevity of the mining companies that own these mines. So meaning it means that a Chinese company can't even come in and let's say sign a better deal with you, which they'll give you access to, let's say, a part ownership of the company with the skills exchange. The issue is the longevity of these deals for the minings, etc. So right now, like the Oran company, the French company in Niger, they have the mining contracts. That's the issue. The mining contracts, really.
And even when they have these contracts, they encourage terrorism so that they can take as much as possible without the people disturbing them. Those are their deals, right? Those are the kind of deals that they bring.
Let me help. Most of these African countries that allow US and French military to set up base in Africa, this country, did they force them to allow that to take place in their country?
What choice do they have? Okay. What choice do they have? What choice do they have?
How about fighting back?
What choice? With what weapons? With what weapons?
You can start with zero weapon and take their own weapon when you take them out. You can fight. Other people did. That's how you do it.
Then go to Nigeria and start it now, since it's so easy.
My point is that you can't make excuse for failure. When other people 5 foot tall men are able to do it, you're saying this.
No. Since it's so easy, you start it.
That's what I'm saying. If I was there, I was going to be one of those people that either would die or would have fought. So don't give me that nonsense.
Nothing stops you now. Nothing stops you now.
Okay, hold on.
What stops you now, though?
Hold on.
You want to go and fight them right now? Am I a soldier?
You are not doing anything, but you are encouraging people to their doom.
For Nigeria.
What do you mean to what doom? You're already doomed. You're going to die anyway.
To Nigeria.
One voice.
To Nigeria. If they send both of you to make a deal for Nigeria, I will believe you. To Nigeria will sign a better deal than Saul. Saul will.
No. That goes without saying now. Jesus Christ.
What? No.
Even the way you stand, you have already shown weakness. Hold on, you have already shown weakness.
Okay. Tell me one thing I said. Okay. Yes. Okay, I've heard what you said. Now tell me one thing I said that brought you to that conclusion. And don't give me your assumptions. Tell me one thing I said.
Yes, I will use. See, most of the blame need to be in our table, not the French, because
So that's how you came to your conclusion.
Yes, currently they decided to drive them away from their country.
I'll tell you why I came to my own conclusion too.
It happened. They were able to drive.
So how does that come to the conclusion that they signed a bad deal?
So they have the power to do whatever they want.
How does? Okay, now connect it to how I will sign a band deal.
Let me answer that. UFC. Let me answer this. Let me answer it because
the blame on the French. There's no blame from our own people that are signing the deal.
You are not okay. UFC.
So how will I sign a bad deal? You are still not explaining it.
See, the reason why you're going to sign a bad deal because you're coming from a place of weakness. Because you probably would never have anything to offer without your approach of doing things. You don't understand that people only sign good deals with people that have something to offer them. And you're basically crying and begging for a deal, and you will never get it. That's not how it works.
Crying and begging.
You have to come from a place of strength.
I asked you a simple question. What did I say that led up to your decision that I'll sign a bad deal? You are just telling me
because
what
you are coming from a place of weakness. They will put anything
before
you.
Tell me what I said.
Let me tell you now. Because you are saying that they are responsible. You call them the teachers of the classroom, and that they are the ones that are responsible for everything that is happening to us. That you don't have any part to play in it. You are saying you can't even defend yourself and all the rest of it. Then you go from that weak position you are in that you don't seem to realize to go and ask them for a deal. Why would they give you a good deal? They will look at you as like, this one doesn't even know what he's doing, and they will give you a deal. You will be happy that you've got a deal because you don't recognize that deal is no deal.
Wait,
that
so
deal is
I think
it's still a status quo.
The only way we'll really be able to analyze why African nations have such bad deals is we need to.
Kaizo, wait, please pause this thing. Kaizo, what to Niger and UFC said, please, with all honesty, did that make any common sense? I'm just asking.
Okay, now let me flush
did
you
that
out
make
now.
any how does that make any common sense? I sat down here and I talked about how we are getting bad deals from France and good deals from China, and you sit down here to tell me that I'm coming and I'm saying what?
Okay, now let me ask you
Okay,
now.
so
Let
wait,
me
one
ask
second,
you a straight
Niger.
question.
How do you add
Can
that
I
up?
explain? Yeah, let me explain to Niger's point.
Let me just ask him a straight
Okay, go
question
ahead.
before you explain to him. What deal would you go for if you tell you that, okay, come to America, fly in, ask us anything? What would you ask for when you go there?
I've said it previously. PPP, public-private partnership deals. I've said it before. So I don't know where you are coming from with your assumptions that you cannot even back up.
That's exactly why he will get a bad deal.
Okay, tell me what's wrong with PPP. Okay, tell me. Give me an example.
Don't worry.
Back up your
explain
statement.
to him. Explain what you want to explain
back it up.
to him.
Logical. No, there's no. Don't worry. Okay, somebody explain to me.
I know when Kezo finish doing that, then I will explain why your PPP is not, because Kezo wanted to explain say something to you.
No, what stops you from explaining it now?
Okay, now let me explain.
Let me see if I'm getting everyone's point of view so that everyone to say yes or no to what my analysis is. So my analysis is that Solly thinks, okay, these guys gave us the systems that we use, democracy and everything. They left us in these positions. We use their own legal contracts, their legal law, either French common law, English common law, to work as a functional nation state. So that's why maybe he used the concept of teachers. Now he believes, obviously, because of that fact, they're the ones who created the system. They should at least abide by some of the stuff that they claim. About human rights,
Yes.
democracy, fairness of trade, etc. And he's saying, okay, we should be leveraging that soft power internationally to gauge better contracts and leverage those contracts. Okay, to Nigel's point of view is we can use sticks fighting against guns and we can still win. We should just have to try it and believe in ourselves. Am I wrong?
You're very wrong, obviously, as a joke as usual.
So where was he wrong?
Where he was wrong.
Nigel, you said actually we can fight without weapons. You don't remember one statement you made?
No, I never said that. So
you
obviously you will ascribe all kinds of nonsense.
You said
I actually remember you saying that we can start from zero.
Don't just start making stuff up. If we are not going to have a reasonable conversation, then I can just shut down.
Can you rewind? Can you go back to the live and
no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Niger didn't say.
Oh my God, that I say what you don't find with that. Kezo is a lie, of course. So regarding this see, I don't have to say anything. You know that it's not going to change anything on my end. It's up to you to take it or leave it. I really don't have to say anything. So if you go for a deal and begging them for PPP, as you say, public-private partnership, just trading with them, I can assure you the trade they're going to give you that you wouldn't have a choice. You don't have anything to say, okay. If they give you anything, how would you be able to say, okay, this is the leverage I have to say, no, I need more. That is not good enough. You can't just tell them, hey, I don't like it. Give me more. They'll be like, take it or leave it. Then what are you going to do? If you leave it,
then you leave it.
Hold on, you take it. Hold on now. Let me finish my point. Let me finish my point. Let me just land now. Let me land the point.
I just want to mention.
You can't just interrupt me. You can't just interrupt this thing.
I'm not
If you see, there are two things. Can I finish? It's not going to be long even. So the idea is that if you take it, you take a compromise deal. If you don't take it, they don't have anything, and they will still carry on railroading you as they are doing currently. Status quo remains. So what have you got then? Nothing. That's what I mean. You don't have leverage, you don't have power, you don't have anything to make them do what you want. That the world suggests that the way the Chinese and all the others have done it, you have to have something to offer. You have to be able to say no. And when you say no, it affects them too. So go ahead.
What I'm saying is your leverage are your resources. They do not have that. No matter what they want to do, no matter what they want to conjure, even if they want to do magic, they will not have those resources. That is leverage enough. If you are not using it already, so you are not losing anything. They need it. So if they don't get it, they are losing something. And the leverage is when you have other people who are willing to give you deals. You tell them, if you do not give us this deal, we have China, we have India, we have Iran, we have other countries that you don't like that are willing to work with us tomorrow. That is your leverage.
Okay, say
It's
you
just
do
like,
that,
okay,
like
to
many
Niger,
African countries are doing it.
to Niger. Okay, let me give you another example I'm sure you can relate with. Some people want Biafra, right? But we both know that they can never have Biafra if they don't have anybody to back them up, right? But they've been fighting for years with no partner. Obviously, why they've never actualized it. But if they had superpowers willing to back them up, would it not somewhat be a form of reality? It would. You cannot go and apply for a job in one place. You apply in 20 places and you choose the best.
Okay, so
Our
of
problem
course
is
that
that
makes
we've
sense,
had
isn't it? That you have diversity, so that makes sense in terms of diversity. But however, what you don't understand is that while you are doing that, they will just buy their time and remove you from office. That's exactly what is going to happen because you don't
but you
get
are
the
the one
idea
that
that
said we should fight to the end with sticks and stones now.
I
You are
never said. You
contradicting
see, come on,
yourself.
man, stop
You
it,
are
stop it.
contradicting
See,
yourself. Okay, but you did say we
okay,
should
but
fight
you are not
back.
going to fight. The problem is that you will not fight. You are not that kind of person. You are the kind
You
of
are
person that
okay,
goes
but
begging with
the
a
thing
bowl
is you
and
are
hope that they
contradicting.
give it to you.
Who
That's the
is
problem. That's
begging?
what I'm telling
Who
you.
is begging?
Your only
You are
leverage is that I'm going to
contradicting
sell it to
yourself.
hold on now. Your only leverage is I'm going to sell it to your rivals. That's your only leverage, and that's no
Yes.
leverage because they can come and remove you
What?
from office. Then
How is that
how do
not
you
a
think?
leverage?
Why do you think African leaders have been failing all this while? You think they didn't think of what you're thinking about? They thought about it,
You
but
are
what
the
happens is that they go and
you
remove
are
them from
the
office.
but if you have a
That's exactly what
superpower
happens.
backing you, if you
But they
have
are
a
not backing you.
superpower
They are
backing
just,
you,
you see, that's the problem. They are not backing you. You are just
can I
doing business with
finish?
them.
Can I finish?
Go ahead. Go
We
ahead.
can see what happened in Burkina Faso, Niger, right? Do you think it would be easy for them to remove that head as they could, as previously as they've done before, with Russia inside those countries now?
Okay.
It
See
would not
now.
be that easy.
You see what he
It
has
would
done
not.
now. Now, okay.
That is their leverage. Now, it doesn't mean that Burkina Faso, Niger, all these other countries are not going to do deals with the West again, but the West is going to come correct this time,
Are you
and they are going
okay?
to do fair
Now,
deals.
hear me. You see what you've done now. You shifted from PPP to understanding that there's another ingredient that you need. That's why I thought.
But I
That's
mentioned
why I
it
said to
before
you, no,
now.
no,
I
no.
mentioned it
You
before.
didn't mention. Okay, what was the ingredient? If you knew it.
When I was explaining Biafra, it's just not the same thing that I've been saying since.
What was the ingredient that was missing?
Leverage in terms of superpower.
So what was the leverage you introduced that you didn't have before?
I didn't introduce anything. You are the one that just didn't
Because
import it.
you don't understand the concept you are talking about. That is the problem. You talked about PPP, then when I told you that they'll just wait you out and take you out of office because that's what they are doing to African leaders, then you said something about having alliances with a superpower. Now you are beginning to understand
How
that
will
it's
they
not
wait
PPP
you?
alone.
How will they wait you out when you're already doing deals with other people? What are they
See,
waiting for? They are the ones
see
losing.
what they do is they don't rush. They will say, okay, yeah, go and do the deal, but they will take their time and get you out of office. Then some other person will replace you, and the person will give them what they want. But you then went
Can you
on.
give an example of that happening?
And just name the African leaders from Sankara
Just one.
to Sankara is
He
one.
didn't have any backing. He didn't have any PPP deals. There was no world power that could back him at that moment. China was not strong enough. Russia was not strong enough. Give me real example. I'm waiting.
What do you mean China was not strong enough? There are Nkrumah that was there. There is
China was not
Venezuela
strong
leader
enough.
that was not there. Venezuelan leader
China was not.
fell. Gaddafi fell. What are you talking about? There are many of them.
China.
They are everywhere.
Libya would have not fallen if Russia was the Russia of today. Russia did not have all
Now
these
you're just
weapons they have now.
forging. You asked a
Russia,
question, I gave you the answer. Move
I'm
on.
giving you facts. Am I not giving you facts? I've told you to give me
The
example.
answer
We are talking
I
about.
gave you were acceptable because you
They are
said
not
which
exactly.
leaders
They are
they
not
remove from office, they
acceptable.
buy their time to remove from office. They bided their time with Libya and removed him from office. They bided their time with Saddam Hussein, removing from office. They bided their time with whoever that's
And
not
why
doing what they
was
want
that? You
and remove
want
them
to
from
ignore the
office.
reason why. You want to ignore the reason why because it is very convenient with your narrative. Why was that? Why was that?
Because they were not doing what the West wants. What are you talking about? It's
But,
very
and
straightforward.
why was the West? Why was the West? Why was it so easy for them to come in and sabotage everything? Why? I'm asking you why. But you don't want to say why. You want to
No.
avoid it.
The reason why they were
Why?
able to do it was because they didn't do certain things that they were supposed to do. Compared to African leaders, they even did more.
No. You are still not answering my question. Why was it so easy for the West to come into Libya?
It wasn't easy for the West to come into Libya, by the way. They had to physically come in. And that is not easy. By African leader standard, they just have to pay somebody or inspire a few people to remove their leaders. They had to physically come in. And they also had to physically.
You are intentionally ignoring the fact
You
that
see, you are asking why. I'm
no
just
alliance.
explaining it to you.
Solly, take him to where your question is. I understand where your
But he
Mm.
question
keeps
is,
on
but he doesn't
ignoring you.
understand
He
it.
keeps on
Take him
ignoring
to
you.
where your question is.
Let him take it there so that I can
Yes,
understand what
yes.
he's
So
saying.
take him. So you can't be doing it in drip. Just take people fully to where you want them to be, and then they can agree or disagree.
I've
Okay,
taken
let him go.
three different ways. I've used Biafra as an example. I've told you that they didn't have alliance with any superpower. Back then, Russia and China were not strong enough to challenge the West. So obviously, it was easy for them to do anything anyhow. And anytime you want to reply me, you conveniently always remove the fact that I'm saying these things. No alliance.
No. When I asked you a straight question, you gave me the answer you gave me was, hold on. I said, when you go to the West, what are the things you are going to ask for from them? And what will be your position? And
Yeah,
you
but
said,
Niger, don't you
that's
think
what you
that the
told me.
issue really, my biggest thing, I think our biggest issue is we're like buffaloes, right? Not antelopes. Let's use a more strong animal. If you look at the buffaloes or the equivalent in Africa, I forgot what they call those cows. These things are dangerous. If they literally organize and work together, they could defeat many lions. They could even go hunting lions and eating lions if they wanted. Problem is, it's a mentality, right? Because, for example, sure, NATO exists, but why is there no Africa NATO? Simple question. Right? You guys can agree with it. How come there's no free trade area agreement? How come there's no ECHO? How come there's no East African shilling? How come the rand is not the official trading currency of Southern Africa? I guess my question is, why are you guys not able to organize yourself at the very basic level, then build from there? It's a simple question.
You are just interrupting the conversation here.
I'm asking
You are just interrupting the conversation.
No.
I think there's a strategy going on here. What is this? This is nonsense. The
That-
guy
come
is
on,
talking.
tonight.
Let me pin him to the ground because he wants to make
Okay,
an
you can
argument.
pin him. Go ahead. You can pin
He's
him.
either going to come where I am. Then let's finish it. Let's finish it.
Excusing my argument.
Stop.
You are
See what case
conveniently
just did. I
excusing
just
my
gave him
argument.
this thing. Go ahead and tell me your vision, please.
To Niger, there's no point in arguing with you because when I bring up my points, when you argue back, you conveniently remove my points. You intentionally act like I don't say some certain things, and then you argue back with that. Imagine me removing some
Spell it
points
out
from
so that
your
everybody
arguments, then
hears.
arguing with
Spell
my
it out so
narrative
everybody
only.
hears.
I've told you in different ways. I don't know what more you want me to say. I've told you in different ways.
I'm
But
asking you
anytime
to
you
just
argue
spell it
back,
because
you
you
remove
are
my
answering half and
points.
half
You
questions.
remove my points from
Why
your
are you scared of
argument.
repeating it again if you are so clear?
I've
Say it.
repeated it
Let's
in
hear it.
different ways. What more do you
Repeat
want
it now.
from me?
Okay, repeat it
What
now
more do you
again,
want
please.
from me?
Repeat it now again, please, so that I can get it fully.
You look for PPP. I've used the analogy of finding a job. You do not go and look for a job in one place. We are not going to the West alone. Why are we going to the West alone? Now we have other world powers who can challenge the West, and we will look for better PPP deals. You are now saying that, okay, if we do PPP deals with them, they will come and remove our head of. But how are you telling me that Russia and China are going to sit down and let the West destroy their business? No, they will fight back for the business that they've set up. It is not going to be as easy as before.
Your audio is gone.
If it was, let me finish. If it was 2023 and Russia and China had business deals with Libya, the West is not going to destroy Libya because they know what is going to happen next. They know.
Okay,
destruction.
So let me try to understand you here.
So it is leverage in terms of world power. You have to have you can't go to a club without and you know that in that club they fight all the time. You go with bodyguards. You go 7-foot men.
Now you see, you are using the wrong language. There's no, when you say leverage in terms of world power, it doesn't imply anything. It's just vague statement. But when you use it, can I say something? It's in your head. Does that imply anything? Anybody here? It doesn't mean anything. The only thing that means something. Come on, man. Can I just say something? You just interrupting me constantly. The only thing that you said,
conveniently removing my points.
Oh my God! I am trying to talk to you, and you just won't let me talk.
Because you are removing my points. There's no point in me.
So you won't let me talk because you think how are you supposed to know I'm moving your point if you're not letting me talk?
You literally just said
Niger, go ahead. Have 5 minutes to Niger.
Can you mute this guy,
explain
please?
your point of view. No, Niger, just go ahead.
He keeps interrupting me constantly.
Go ahead, Niger.
Just go ahead, Niger. No one will interrupt you. I promise you.
What he's saying is that that something about world power. See, now that part has escaped me. But the point that I got from it was that he used the term bodyguard. You see, that one had some common sense in it. Clearly trying to illustrate the idea that he's going to have alliances that is going to protect him. But the way he's coming out explaining it is not very good, because he's saying just because you are selling materials to those people, they are going to protect you. No, they're not going to protect you just because you are selling materials to them. You have to have actual strategic alliances with them before that happens. This in Libya didn't have strategic alliances with them, hence why Libya was easy to fall. Same for Iraq, but Syria did, and Syria didn't fall. Iran did, Iran didn't fall. So there's a difference there. So this is why I get the idea where you are coming from, but you it's as if you don't have the depth of knowledge to understand that there are different layers of relationship that people have with different countries. We are not enemies of China, but yet China is not our strategic ally. China buys stuff from us. China is not going to protect us if America comes for us. So I can tell you that right now. So there's a difference with the kind of relationship you have. But I get where you're coming from. But I urge you to also understand where I'm coming from, to say, if you want that bodyguard, as you put it, you actually have to deliberately forge that alliance with nations that are going to actually protect you when you go for your PPP. And by the time you're going for that PPP, the Europeans will have to consider carefully whether it's worth them supporting you, knowing that you have that strategic alliance with their rival. So that is how it's going to play out. And you have to question yourself too if you are going to go and do that. But personally, my biggest criticism of your approach is the fact that you come from the point of view of behaving as if you're just a victim. And to me, that is a wrong-headed approach. But you do have a reasonable approach to it. When the moment you use the term bodyguard, it means that you actually understand that when you just go with PPP, it may not be enough, because they could throw you out of office and have some other person take over. That's where I give you credit on. But I don't think you understand the depth of what it's all about.
I am not coming from the aspect of being a victim. As a Yoruba person, you should know that we don't do victim mentality. However, I will acknowledge that we were victims. I'm not going to remove that fact. So if you don't like the fact that I'm saying we were victims, then that's up to you. I'm not saying we should die victims. I'm saying we should strategize based on what we know about being victims. And it was very convenient of you to assume that I was not talking about strategic alliance. Of course, there will be strategic alliance. That is what will protect us in the first place. I would not be talking about protection if there is no strategic alliance. And you don't just have strategic alliance overnight. If not, we will end up like Ukraine. So everything has processes. It takes time, but you have to know the vision of where you are going to. We can't sit down there and be having deal with somebody that
you started from the point of view.
You can't sit down. You can't sit down there with somebody that used you as a victim, and you will not be pretending like this person didn't use you as a victim previously. I'm not saying we should not do deals with them, but come with the back knowledge that these people use you as victim. You have to come with that mindset, or else you will
people are just being silly. I don't understand it. I don't think some of all these chat people they know me or they think they can just talk.
No, Niger, just ignore them.
Me constantly.
Look, Niger,
I think they can just troll me, and but sooner or later I'll walk out of here, and you guys can carry on with your low IQ thinking, and you guys want to
it's ridiculous.
Niger, leave them alone. Leave them alone, Niger.
I'll be threatening with walking out.
Niger, ignore the chat, okay?
You've been
it's ridiculous. I don't understand.
Hold on. To Niger, why are you in your feelings today? It's not like you.
No, I'm not in the mood for nonsense. I'm tired of people that just keep coming online every day talking like children. It's ridiculous.
Niger,
you have to get them. Sooner or later, you have to become serious. These are grown men.
Niger, leave the chat alone. If there are people saying bad things on the
panel, it's not only the chat.
We'll kick them off. We will not allow you to be bullied on the panels to Niger. We will protect you. Okay?
Oh, come on,
we will act as your strategic partner.
You see that.
It's such a. Do you want flowers and chocolates to feel better?
I don't need your
Let's move on to Niger. Now, I was just trying to make a joke about strategic partners to Niger. Come on, about protecting you. But anyway,
I don't have the energy for. It's not every day somebody has energy just to be knocking on the low IQ thinking constantly.
I get your point, but Niger, this Libya, you guys, the reason I was playing this video.
Sorry, apologies, Kaizo. Apologies, everyone. Sorry, Kaizo. Alexander Gomez joins us, and whenever he joins us, we always stop everything to listen to him because
he's a sponsor.
The main sponsor. Okay. Yeah. So, Alexander, good to see you.
Yeah, good morning, folks. I woke up to listen to the stream this morning. Pretty interesting conversation. So Niger, why are you getting worked up this morning? What's wrong with you? You woke up on the wrong side of the bed or something, young man?
No, it's in touch with his feminine side today, I think.
No, I don't subscribe to people that like to stunt conversations because there are viewers that might just come and watch this video and they just keep stunting and acting as if this is a joke. This is life and death, and I don't like. Sometimes anyway, I just get frustrated when people just keep taking it as a joke. Really.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's keep the conversation straight, civil, and direct. Okay. No hard feelings. I don't think anyone should take anything personally. But it's a pretty interesting conversation, and I'm listening and I'm learning as well. Okay. Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Alexander. So let me bail out, and then you guys can carry.
Yeah, thanks for coming through. Now, tonight, the reason I brought up this video wasn't to, take you and away from Saudi from you pitting him down. I was playing this video because it's related to what you guys mentioned about NATO and the powers. And I asked a simple question to Niger. You are right, and Soli is right. And the thing is, there's a point where both of you mix and merge, and then you consolidate your points together, right? Because ultimately, different perspectives. Well, I don't need to explain how perspectives work, but the question I was asking you guys is this, right? Okay, why don't we look? IC3 has this idea that we are in a prison, right? The global prison, anti-black / African system. Fine, let's assume that's correct. Even if that's the case, why don't we as prisoners, right, go and actually treat each other with respect, clean up the area, make the toilets clean, organize, learn skills, so that when we're out, eventually we'll be out, right? Most of us, at least. We can go there and rebuild and be able to come back stronger. I guess the question I'm asking simple is this: low-hanging fruit. Why is there no ECHO? Why is there no East African shilling? Why is there no Rand as a formalized trading currency within each of these so-called regions? If we know that these things will give us power and leverage in the international market, if an ECHO existed in 5-10 years' time, you guys could actually be trading using ECHO in the international market. You could be buying from China using ECHO because they understand that there is, I don't need to explain how this works. So question is, why haven't you guys, or rather, why are you not focusing on the low-hanging fruits? These are the simple question like that, right? Because this guy over here, right, he got told to leave Libya alone by NATO, and they ran back with the tails behind their legs. Look at it.
Started the African Union with our chairman, who is here now, this gentleman here. They formed a committee of a few of us. I think we were 6. I was one of them. The whole of the African Union gave that committee a mandate to look for a solution for the Libyan problem. Now, on one occasion, I didn't go that time. These excellencies, this one here, Jacob Zuma, and the others, I was not there, but my minister was among them. They entered a plane in Nouakchott in his place. They were going to Libya to mediate. And they were told by NATO to go back. Yes. Said, you go back. Yes, he's here. If I'm telling lies.
See, the question is, right, how come the whole African Union the reason they got told to go back, first of all, is they didn't pose a threat. If the African Union can't even create its version of NATO called Cato, right, the Kaiserian whatever alliance of dusty nations, how are you going to leverage yourself against these international companies? I'm asking you, why don't you have the basics of the basic?
That's crazy. It's crazy they told them to go back and they went back. That's insane. And they're admitting that.
They ran back with their tails between their legs. Shout out to also the sponsor of the show. We got Wale Babs for the £2 saying, no one is super chatting today, one man. No, no, this is a morning show for him. So, he hasn't got all the rich Nigerians there. And also shout out to another sponsor, Stoic One for £5, PayPal, and also one man as well. So shout out. But yeah, Caesar, why did they go back? And why didn't they think, hang on, okay, so as 6 nations who got told to go back, why don't we build our own alliance for security? Look,
Niger. So I don't understand Liberian history as much as maybe some of the African Americans on here, but to my understanding, that guy, what was his name? His name's Charles Taylor. When he started becoming, Liberia is like a colony of the U.S., but when I think Charles Taylor started becoming a little like anti-USA, they couped him. So I mean, all these African leaders, they're kind of in bed with the West. Literally, they're all in bed with the West. So when something like Libya happens and NATO tells them to go back, every leader is like, okay, well, I signed a deal with America. You signed a deal with, France. Let's just go back. They're thinking of their national interest. They're not thinking of the entire continent. So everyone, look at what's going on in Nigeria with our president, right? I mean, the guy's obviously in bed with the West. No, everyone has to admit that. He's obviously in bed with America somehow, some way. There's some kind of connection. Do you really think he's going to be, joining BRICS and, anti-dollar and start giving speeches like Ruto? He's not going to do that. So, I mean, what do you expect? If there's an African Union vote, he's not going to vote for something that's going to mess what he's doing in Nigeria. So that's something we have to think about. These sellout opposition leaders, I don't know what the solution is. Well, I have an idea what the solution is, but, No,
it makes sense. It makes sense. But you see how everybody's quiet when we're talking about solutions, right? They only want to argue with each other.
At the very minimum, if we grow our own food, at least, whatever they do, at least we're able to feed ourselves. But we don't have weapons. I know Niger's aware of that. But we have to at least grow our own food. Before you even use guns, you have to grow your own food. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And Niger, are you there, brother?
We're already growing our own food. I don't know how much food you want to grow.
1 second, brother. I want you to come in after this, but let me just shout out to the sponsors again. Shout out to the sponsors. We got Wale Babs for £2, Alexander Gomez for $5, One Man for £2, and Stoic One for £5. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe so that we can get these messages to a wider audience. So to Niger, question I asked, why don't we have an echo? Simple question.
But Kaiser, one more thing. That is the most important thing we should be focused on, by the way. That echo, a stronger ECOWAS, that's the number one focus. Forget everything else.
So West Africa, why don't we have an echo? Tell us the challenges of making an echo.
I will be giving you 2 answers to these things now. One, obviously, because we are weak as a people. And secondly,
I like that one.
The French went for made sure that they sabotage it so that they keep control of their francophone countries. That's the simple answer to it. And almost everything we do is tied to.
Okay, so then the second question is, why didn't the Anglophone countries create their own echo?
The Anglophone countries.
Yes. Question is this, right? When I can't, there's something in programming, I forgot the asynchronous programming, right? If you can't get a request from some channel because it's taking too long or other reasons, you do another thing that's contributing to that larger, greater goal. while the other thing waits. So why can't we have asynchronous thinking, whereby we create an echo for the Anglophone countries, and then the other ones will join it when or if they want? But do you not still see the fact that if Nigeria, Ghana, and the other French countries just joined and created that system will still grow? And if that system grows, and it's, I don't need to explain how growth works. So what is the excuse for the Anglophone countries not creating an echo?
One, because the same problem. They were trying to do it with Francophone countries, and now they failed. They want to try with the this in Anglophone countries. Is still plagued with the same problem. They are all very weak nations that cannot even negotiate their way around any simple deals. It takes them forever to do anything that other people would do overnight. Weakness pervades everything we do.
You agree with me? All these things I keep saying about Africans, we lack the comprehension of time. We don't like to be efficient. So you agree with me because you're using those same arguments. Okay, shut up.
I don't agree.
That's not what I did. That's not what I did. That's just completely changing
each country is not able to independently, like each country, the CBN governor in Nigeria, they have their little deal going on. They know they can take a little percentage. No one's asking questions. They have their little tribal setup. If they include other nations, that's going to mess up the whole money scheme. You see what I'm saying? So, and it's not like the average Nigerian understands the importance of having an echo. So it has to be something the elites want to do, and the elites are kind of getting their cut. So unless there's a way the elites can get their cut in this Pan-African version or whatever, I don't think there's going to be a push.
Right now, the reason why they are not doing it is because it's working for the people that are controlling them. Like the French now, when they saw that the echo was not going to work for them, they pushed back against it. And the same thing is happening with the Anglophone countries. They are not going to come together until it is suitable for the foreigners. And I think even Dr. Arikana argued that. And I actually made the argument even before Dr. Arikana, that some of the things our African our leaders are doing on the continent, the Continental Free Trade Agreement and all the rest of it, it could be the worst thing that ever happened to the continent from the point of view of, by the time it is done, if it is not us that is controlling it and it's from foreigners, is even worse than the previous colonization, because this is an instrument that they can use to completely reap the resources of the continent. So some of all these things is because in the end, it's still our weakness as a people not to take charge of anything.
Weak. Why do you keep on calling us weak? Who is weak? I don't agree.
We are weak. Of course you disagree, but it's okay.
Who is we? It's not we. It's not we. There's no we.
You want me to specify it? The sub-Saharan, specifically the Niger Congo group. Even the Somalis.
Okay, I agree there.
We are the weak. In short, we are the biggest problem on the continent. So to an extent, we think the others are the problem. We are probably the biggest problem, because right now, at least America knows, and Russia, they know where they stand with each other. America and China knows where they stand with each other. Same with India. But with Africa, they can come and cause problems.
Niger, I guess my point really was that, and unless you guys have ECHO, you have East African shilling, none of these discussions you guys have mean anything about Niger, the bad contracts, because until you can control your own economies and leverage your currencies for international trade, any small Mickey Mouse trade deals you do with any country, even China or Russia, it's ultimately meaningless.
If you cannot secure your economy, forget it. You can't control it. The people that have the technology controls your economy. That's how it works. When I keep telling that all this boils down to security, people thought it was a joke. The people that control the security controls the economy. That is just simply how it works. Everything you work for is for the ones that have it, that have the security.
Are we weak? Are we weak, or do we just have illiterates as leaders?
I'm not sure there's any difference.
It's both. It's both.
There's no difference.
People aren't willing to protest.
No, there's a difference.
No, people aren't willing to protest. It doesn't matter what happens. They don't want to die. People don't want to die.
That is me. If I want to be generous, I would say, which may actually be the truth, that there are macro effects that has kept us where we are. It's not necessarily because we don't have the will to change. There are people that want to change. I think we are the first to do this about this we are doing, that want to change the continent, but the population is not where they need to be. that collective solidarity or collective intelligence hasn't risen up to where it needs to be. And sometimes you need macro events to occur to allow that to happen, and it hasn't happened for us. An example of this, let me give you an example of this. Look at what happened in Niger right now. Do you see how sneaky Americans are being? They are not being very threatening. They are acting like if they are being quiet. From what I gather
But that's
now,
the best thing to do.
But if it was some other countries, they may even have intervened in the regime, but they remain quiet. They pretend, because they don't want to wake us up to this type of great conflicts. They don't want to wake us up to it. Instead, they would rather use coup. And the Russians actually warned the Nigerian regime recently that, you know what, they want to do to you what they did to Patrice Lumumba or Sankara, that you guys need to be prepared. So because they know they don't want a hot war where their footprint is showing on the continent. If they do that, the people will wake up, and it may be that macro event that will catalyze us. That is what is needed, but they will not do that.
Okay.
Because we have been put asleep because of all this nonsense.
I disagree with you. It will never catalyze us. It never ever. I don't believe Africa will ever be one. Do you know why? We have different regions. Each region gets their influence from different places. East Africa, where is it connected to? What waters are they connected to? What regions are they connected to? To the east. West Africa, what regions are they connected to? To the west. Same thing as North Africa, right? They have Arab connections and Western connections. South Africa is something different. So these are different mentalities, different backgrounds. They will never connect unless we have a railway system that connects all Africa and we can forcefully mix with each other. Without that, we are not having any union,
it's not necessarily about connecting.
any alliance anytime soon. Next 40, 50,
it's not necessarily
even
about
100
connecting.
years.
Can you see? It's not about connecting. It's about the mindset. See what you see. If
But
you
we all need
understand
to
what
have
we're talking
one
about,
mindset, right?
no, you don't have to.
You
You're not listening. It's not about one mindset. It's about changing your mindset, the people's mindset to realize.
You know what is going on here. Solly is speaking to reality, and Tunaja is speaking to idealism. So it's the conflict between the two, because what Solly is actually explaining to you is the reality of the situation.
Did I disagree with him?
What you are trying to go to is the ideal.
See, I'm not disagreeing with the idea that maybe some regions are not going to come together. That is not the point. It's the mindset change that will need to occur. If that mindset change, after all, Asians compete against each other all the time. They are still functional and they are developing just fine.
It is not going to happen. It is never going to happen.
This is your problem, Solly. Yeah, for all your argument, this is your biggest flaw.
I'm just telling you, geographically speaking, it is not going to happen unless we have railways.
It doesn't matter. Don't you understand that? It doesn't matter. The reason why Japan. Can you just listen for a few moments before you just talk?
Okay.
The reason why Japan and
also
South Korea
explain how we get the mindset.
Are you capable even? The reason why Japan and South Korea is doing well is not necessarily because the America was so generous, they want them to do well. Because they saw that, okay, look at China is doing growing in that region. They have to have a counterweight against China. They see North Korea being a threat. They have to have a counterweight against them. This is how it works. It doesn't matter how it happens, whether it's against the Asians, they are divided. But yet they are some of the most advanced countries in the world today. And they are probably advancing faster than, in short, I'm confident that they are advancing faster than the West right now.
Should I tell you
why do you think they were able to accomplish that? So when you say that the continent may not unite, hold on, now let me finish my point. When you say the continent may not unite, I didn't disagree with that, because you don't require that to progress. What you need is the mindset changing that will enable the people to take charge of their own countries, their own nations, and push back on any interest that is not to their own benefit. Please go ahead.
Okay. The only reason why those countries were able to develop was not mindset change. It was economic competition. What does that mean? Dollar bills, y'all. The only thing that is going to change the mindset of any country is money, business, work, opportunities. Everybody aligns together once money is on the table. Israel and Iran will do business deal tomorrow if it favors both of them. We don't have any business deals that we are doing, sub-country wise between North, East, West, South. I promise you, if we do, everybody's mindset will become the same immediately. We don't even have to like each other.
So you think our leaders, the only problem they have is not being able to negotiate business deals?
All this sanctimonious thing that you are expecting that is going to happen will never happen except for business. Business is the only thing that can unite anybody that hates each other.
What I find with people is that,
if we don't even have an
hold
echo,
on, let me just say this, then you go. See, what I find with people is that when they start insulting your idea without actually taking the argument, people have to ask themselves why.
Sure.
Please go ahead.
Hold on, sorry. Let's bring Snake Man in. Snake Man, come in.
No, it's the only thing I'm saying. Good for Niger to increase the price. I hope the money is coming in when they're able to sell their uranium in a good price.
It's fake news, Snake Man.
It's fake news.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not good.
The price increased by only 10 cents per.
Only 10
pound.
cents.
Yeah, that's a real price difference. Okay. Go ahead, though.
Now, then, I don't know what arguments the respectful elders have between each other.
So Snake Man, and let me just give the problem, right? Because I did some more deep dive. The issue really isn't just the price. The price is it's a very surface issue. The issue is the longevity of the mining contracts with Orano, the company from France that actually mines the uranium. So that's why the price is fixed. This company is the one that mines it, and they're the ones who export it. So they then give the money back to Niger. And the real official numbers that we have from 2016 is 3.5 billion goes out of uranium being basically exported, worth of uranium, and then what comes back is $500 million, or whatever, pounds or euros, it doesn't matter, it's the percentages, right? So 3.5 billion goes out of uranium, what comes back is 500 million. So that's the real numbers that we have from around 2017, 2016.
What should I say? Is it surprising? No. I hope it's changed.
Question I had is this, right? And it's like, okay, why is there no echo? Like I just keep asking you guys the same question. Why don't you have the really low-hanging fruits being picked yet? And what's the solutions towards getting an echo?
What do you mean with echo? What do you mean?
An echo? That's hard.
Hold on. Can someone explain? Can someone explain it to me?
Okay. An echo is a proposed West African currency for the countries that are part of ECOWAS, right? I say it's a low-hanging fruit because this is something you can do yourselves. You don't need to involve outside West African nations to do it.
What? That is very.
Hold on. So hold on. I think this debate will be on to Niger's side. Do you want
whether it's ECHO
West
or
African?
It's irrelevant, right? Why there no rand as the official trading currency? South Africa, ECHO is just a simple example. The point is
no, but you want a currency that goes beyond one country. Is that right?
Correct. In West Africa, yes.
In West Africa.
Yes, officially.
And you want that implemented as basically one country, one strong country should implement it, and the rest, it doesn't matter what they want.
Correct. I just want a currency that's functional. Other people accept it, they see it's strong, and they use it for trade in West Africa. Where is it?
But how do you convince? Basically, the problem is if you don't get consensus from other countries, and they're already in the hand of the West. Or east or south, it doesn't matter. You want a local African currency, but the problem is Africa is not you can create it. Like you can even use one of those dusty ones we already have. But the problem is the legitimacy is missing. With legitimacy, I mean other countries actually trying to use it. What is the reason for it?
Right. So, Saint Man, you're giving me logical reasons, and I like your reasons. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, Africans cannot complain about all these things the West is doing when they can't even do the low-hanging fruits. This is the simplest of the simplest to do, and they can't come up with it. So
stop being precision.
No,
that's
it is the simplest.
You know, the Europeans almost rip each other to pieces just to create the euro. What are you talking about? That is not this guy. I don't know what you think. Central banks just unite their currencies just Come on, man. Stop.
Yeah.
so,
You're missing my point, Niger.
Come on, man.
No,
Sometimes
no,
it's
no.
like you're just
You
trolling
guys are
people.
crying
but
about problems.
Kaiso, the problem is tonight is right in this point is
Tell me why.
it's not. I know you are technocratic. I get it. Capitalism till you die. The problem is we already found out some of our leaders don't think logical. Like are we agreeing on that? That when it comes to economy, it could be better, but they choose another way.
Okay.
So why should say, if you already know that, why should a majority choose the low-hanging fruit? Basically, the simple logic. If we have shown throughout decades that African leaders don't choose the simple logic, they choose the logic that benefits them the most.
I guess
right?
You're misconstruing my point. My point is more simple than this. If you guys can't solve the most basic, simple, low-hanging fruit, how do you think you're going to compete in the international market? Just accept that you'll be at the bottom forever. Because hang on. Because the other stuff that you guys are trying to leverage the market and compete with is even much more difficult to do. So if you can't do the basic stuff, hang on. Let me make my point, right? Let me make my point, Niger. Let me make my point, right? You guys are talking about prices set by these countries are parasitic, they're bad for Africa. Great, I agree with you. You're talking about how Africa doesn't have security. Great, I agree with you. You're talking about how Africa, countries in general, especially sub-Saharan countries, don't have power, influence in the world, and this affects how they're able to invest, how they're able to buy machines. For example, Brother Soli mentioned earlier that America's even preventing China from buying the machines from ASML technology to actually industrialize to the extreme of semiconducting technology. Great, I get your point. But all those things require to at least have an infrastructure. You guys are trying to set up a trading route between two countries and there's no roads. And in this case, a road is the echo. I'm saying until you do these basic low-hanging fruits, all the other stuff is pointless. Just forget about it. Just accept of being an eternal slave to the white man. And that's
Kaiso, did we not establish?
If you don't have infrastructure, if we don't have the infrastructure of trade, how are you going to make two countries trade with each other? The infrastructure is roads.
Now
we don't even have a road network. Metaphorically,
Kaiso,
you have some mercy on us.
No. This is low-hanging fruits. There's no. Just give up.
Yeah, but Kaiso, the problem is that not is that what you just mentioned? Is that not every discussion that we ever had on your channel? That we start on the ground, and then someone comes in, then talks about the moon, and we don't even have to build the platform where the rocket is built on.
Yeah,
like is that not normal?
What I really want is all these Nigerian channels to start saying, okay, guys, we're lobbying the next president to make Nigerian currency and to unify it with some other central banks to make an echo. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear us lobbying that to make it a reality. At least just make it happen, right? Because Niger, your solution earlier, remember when you came for me to Niger, you said, Kaiso, actually, okay, let me rephrase so everybody understands the conversation. We were having a discussion and I mentioned Nigeria cannot be accepted. Trade between Kenya and Nigeria can't happen using one currency because Kenyans don't trust the Nigerian currency because, hey, they don't trust the government. They might do some weird shorting, change the currency, make it worth less. So we're not going to accept your currency. I said the same thing with the Nigerian currency to Kenya. Niger came and gave me a great solution. He said, but if the Central Bank of Nigeria was able to ensure that even if there was a change in the prices, we will match the exchange rate of the inflation so that the Kenyan investors do not lose money. I said, wow, great, Nigeria. So Niger, why don't you push those ideas right now so that an echo exists and this integration of central banks happens so that at the very least, we can trade amongst each other?
Because someone will win very easy. I always told you. Those ideas are not really hard. Like if you are in a leading position, even with the resources and the cohesion some African countries have, it's not that hard. The problem is if you go the first step, the probability for you eating from the table, from the infrastructure you're building is very low. Already, that is basically the idea. The problem is those African leaders are not stupid, they know that. But the fear is if I am the first one, I'm the one who takes less. and they don't want that. So till we reach some point where everyone can eat good, it will not happen.
Yeah, so that's why I keep saying all these higher level trade agreements, discussions about China and Russia, these are all irrelevant until we have infrastructure of trade. We need an ECHO in West Africa. We need Security Council in West Africa, a proper one. And I don't mean just one where they're pretending to go to Niger. I mean one to fight off terrorism, secure these nations' mines. They should not be secured by French troops or anyone else, right? Etc. Because that's how they steal, right? Those are the official numbers I showed earlier. The deficit, of $3.5 billion worth of uranium leaving and only 500 million coming back to uranium. That's the official numbers. Of course, you know what's really happening on the ground, right? There's going to be tons and tons more uranium leaving, which are unmarked. This is obvious. So I guess what I'm saying is we do need to have a focus on low-hanging fruits. Pick the fruits, right? Have an East African shilling. Have a rand as a regional official trading currency in Southern African nations, SADC, and then have an ECHO in West Africa. Central Africa, don't forget about those guys, right? That's a dictatorship area. But until we do that, all these conversations about fair deals, fair trade, it's not going to happen because you don't have leverage, right? Because if right now Nigeria was using an ECHO to trade with China, China may even be willing to accept the ECHO as a trade instead of the dollar because they know they can now leverage a whole market of other West African countries, and they can use that
so high IQ. Why are you always thinking? Kaiser, why are you always thinking so high IQ? I don't get it. I told you multiple times. The average African is not thinking about that.
So we're back to the thing. I need to become a president of Kenya,
colonize
all East Africa, and make it that happen. That's the only thing that
you're thinking about using ECOWAS, united trade power to influence China. No African leader ever had that idea. Kaiser, you think too high IQ. What are you saying? What are you saying? What dream world are you living in?
Kaizoran Empire. That's my dream world. Right. Okay. So let me ask
too many Western.
What do you think about the Africa Union included in the G20? So what is the benefit?
Yeah, it's meaningless because there's no African currency, right? So ultimately, it's not. You're not gonna get any more leverage. If African Union went there with an African currency, then yes, that would mean something. But right now, it doesn't really mean anything, unfortunately.
But Kaizo, I have a question. What should be our main priority? Infrastructure or currency?
Both. Okay, both.
No.
Okay.
Which one takes the lead? Which one should take the lead? If we are being realistic.
Okay. I'll tell you this, right? Building an economic infrastructure isn't that expensive. It's more or less just kind of no. Hang on. Wait. Building the currency doesn't take away from the other resources of building infrastructure. As in, it's two separate kinds of things which can be done in modality. It can be done in parallel because to build a currency, what you need to unify central banks, which means each bank has to put in a certain amount of money. That's fine, but that money doesn't have to be used immediately. It just has to be there as collateral for the trade. As long as so that's one thing. So unifying currencies is more of you put the money there in a bank, but it's more of a trading deficit. Not really the money's it's not just gonna go there and gets used up. Infrastructure, the money does get used up, and the only way you make the money back is if you now have a productivity surplus. So me personally, right? I'm a capitalist. I would go and build infrastructure, and by this case, I just mean what let's say Ike is doing: going to Ghana, buying machines from China, going and producing food stocks which are non-perishable, and then exporting them to relevant companies. As an individualist, I would do that because that's what I believe in, right? For solving the actual problems on ground. But obviously, top-up solution is currency. But people on our level, I think capitalism and infrastructure, it needs to be done. So yeah, I think we should lobby government.
Like I said, the currency is easier, but the problem is it is so easy. We would already have done it if it was not for the one fact: who gonna take the L? Who gonna take the blow?
I'll give you an example. The reason why we don't have it in Kenya, actually, we tried it, right? Well, we're trying. The reason why is because the other currencies of the other regions. Okay, in Kenyan shilling is the strongest currency in this area, right? It's stronger than the birr. Now, you guys, when I say strength, I'm not talking about the numbers. So here's the other thing we have to now explain, because most people don't understand economics, right? Just because the currency is like 1,000 shilling is $1 doesn't mean that currency is weak. Another currency is 20 shilling is $1. No, what matters is the stability of that currency across time, and time in this case is relevant time, aka 15 to 20 years. So since we've removed that there, certain currencies are stronger. Kenyan shilling is the strongest in this area. They're afraid that the Ugandan shilling and the Tanzanian shilling will bring down the value of the shilling if they unify, because their economies are a little bit different, right? Their economy is more agricultural based, and they don't quite have as much industrialization. So they're afraid that unifying this will make our currencies fluctuate in a way that will negatively affect our country. So that, yeah, you're right. Unifying currencies it's easy in principle. It's difficult in real time because of no one wants to take the L, as you said, Snake Man.
Sometimes I'm sorry. Continue. I'm sorry.
No. Continue.
No. I just want to say sometimes I'm sorry, but I'm a simple man. I use simple words. just because some people think because I use simple words I'm dumb. Like I get most topics. Continue.
I believe if we have infrastructure, that mindset that you have, right? That you are saying, oh, we should all have this mindset, and that is when we'll have it, because we will know mentally that we are able to be on the same level as these people. If we start to see that we are on the same level as these people, we will start to want to be treated equally. That is when we can have the mindset and the mentality to start questioning, why are our currencies not equal? We have the same infrastructure, if not better. We have the same economy, if not better. Maybe we do not have the same military, but we do not try to, destroy ourselves like they do. France and England, at what point, they were fighting war for 1,000 years, which is normal to them, but not normal to other people. So when we have things that we can see visually, our mindset will change. This is why I focus on infrastructure, and I don't care how we get it. I don't care if it's from Iran. I don't care if it's from North Korea. I don't care. Your war is not my war. I don't care where the infrastructure is coming from. Let the infrastructure come, and it will change the mindset of the people.
Okay, so generally, I agree with you there. If I was a Nigerian, I would agree with your argument. But the argument here is greater than that, right? Because it's more of a diaspora slash pan regionalism talk. Meaning, yes, as a Nigerian, if I was a Nigerian or a Kenyan, let's assume I'm one of those, I agree with you 100%. Focus on infrastructure, focus on internal trade, making sure that we're creating value surplus to export more products, make more dollars, industrialize more, and add value to our human resources, aka education and specialized skills training. I agree with you. As if I was an individualist person, I would agree with you. The issue is, I guess, then that's no longer an Africa talk. That's a Nigeria or Kenya talk. And the problem with that is, right, the more successful you become without the other countries around you succeeding, terrorism will rise. We know this. Dusties will flood into your country.
No, I disagree with you. I disagree. When you see your neighbor progressing, you do not.
Have you seen Somalia? That country is a SHIT.
No, Kaiser. It only rises if you're isolated. If the borders are open and there's an exchange, it must be not 1-to-1, but it's an exchange. If you look at China, all the neighbors are not terrorists.
Exactly.
Yeah, but they have you're okay. Great. But here's the thing, right? When you're looking at countries like Nigeria,
can I finish my point?
Go ahead.
My point is that when you see your neighbors progressing, the natural instinct for a human being, but just based on human nature, is competition. You also want to get to that level. You see people in Lagos. Let's use Lagos for example now. They've built a light rail system in Lagos. All the other states are not going to just become terrible just because of that. They are going to question their own state. Why does my state not have that? If Nigeria has the best infrastructure, all the other countries in the West will start questioning, why does my country not have that too? So it creates an awakening. Terrorism is based on when you have nothing else to do. If you have a job, you have a family to feed, you have children to feed, nobody is going to join you into any terrorist organization. If you have things that, oh, this country has this and I'm competing to be on their level, it is not Europe, it is not abroad, it is literally my neighbors back here in Africa. I will focus more of my energy on competing with them because I want to also show that my country can do that because we are on the same level. How can you do it and I can't? That would be the mindset of everybody. I don't think everybody will go and join terrorist group because their neighbor is excelling. It doesn't make any logical sense. I don't think anybody will do that, even if they are not logical.
Okay. I mean, go ahead, Snake Man.
Like I said, when we have those discussions, I'm not an economist. Queso is it? Ike is economist. I'm not really a strong ideologist like Niger or the Kifaro, or I'm not a delusional coping boy like Judah and all his other things. What I am is a pragmatist. And for me, it's the first thing, but this is a whole nother discussion. It's the problem is, it is good when you have the blueprint, the idea, but the person who actually can execute this don't think like we think here. To think different.
Yeah.
Because my problem is always is the idea, basically is the missing cohesion and the code for the leaders that actually can do it. Because they know what could be right, but they just don't do it. And how do you try to better a world where the one on the wheel says, yes, if I pull left, I would get McDonald's and also, but I pull right and drive down the cliff because I'm bribed. Then all the ideas goes out the windows, and that is my problem. But I know that when we talk about real nation building, all Africans somehow, besides Kaizo, shut off the brain.
Yeah, solutions are hard,
Snake
right?
Man,
yeah, go ahead.
Snake Man, can I just reply one thing you said? You say they know what to do, but they are not doing it, right? I usually don't blame the people, but at this point, I am going to blame the people because the people are not putting enough pressure on these leaders to do it. If you look at the situation in Nigeria, the leaders are literally forced. They literally have no other choice than to develop the nation. Why? Because they have accusations of the election being rigged. Nigerian citizens are pressurizing the military to do a coup. Nigerian citizens are consistently demanding and protesting. They are just pressurizing the government in every single corner. Yes, we don't have weapons, but we will not make your life comfortable. Other nations, they can go 2 years, 3 years of suffering and they will not complain.
But solely, that is the point I have with Niger. Not every country in Africa is Nigeria. Nigeria is actually a very special case if we really break it down. Like if you go to, so for example, Niger, it took a very, very, very long time for them to realize that they get exploited. Or let's see Gabon. So this was something. Why did it took it nearly to the grandchild is grown up and he nearly take it over? Why did it took it so long till they realized?
Can I ask you a question? Why are other countries not like Nigeria?
I would say history.
Can you enlighten us?
Basically, Nigeria in this aspect is special because of the special ethnic makeup and the culture, and that we are not landlocked. That is very helpful.
I think other countries are just making excuses. They don't want to die.
Oh, okay. You can say it's I try to be diplomatic. I don't try to down people. I try to lift them up.
But me, I'm realistic. I'm not trying to down. I just say it as it is.
Guys, do you really think you can ever become president of Kenya?
It doesn't matter if I think it. That's the mission. I don't really use logic to decide what I'm gonna do or not.
Kaiser is one of those people who just by surviving the longest will be the president, not because he actually.
But you need to make a lot of money first, because
sure, that's part of the plan. Yeah, I need.
Can I challenge that?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. IC3.
I hear that I can't remember which country, but there was a person who was a cleaner here in London, and he left from here as a cleaner and went back and became a ruler of his country. I don't know if it was Vietnam or somewhere like that. Yeah, so don't underestimate people. Yeah, you don't know who they can bump into, what they can say.
In Vietnam, it was communism. They use communists. I don't think that Kaiser will not start a communist revolution, or you will use a democratic
leader. Can a person, become a leader? They can, even from a cleaner. So
yeah, and I said he probably will become the president by default just because he survives the longest, not because he actually does something. Because that is Kaiser's character.
So you're
there's different strategies to get power. Yeah, but anyway, Mr. IC3, shout out. Thank you for coming through. And also the rest of you that's watching the show, let's see some fat super chats. Support Black and African media stations, specifically Diaspora News Network. But anyways, IC3 Black over there. I think there's no solutions, because I say, hey, we can't even do the low-hanging fruits. How are we going to deal with all these meta stuff? But go ahead.
Well, and also let's forget about having an African Union also, because if you have anything that is African Union, Nigerians will want to dominate it. I'm telling you. And if they can't dominate it, they will probably not be a part of it.
So I see you, Kaiser, as and even your whole operation here is an intelligence gathering. See, so I see the whole thing. Black Africa are hostages, and that includes the leadership. So people in a hostage situation, under stress, they babble, they talk rubbish. Some people just don't say anything. Some people are quiet. Some people are just shuffling. All kinds of characters behave in all different ways in a stressful situation. So you can imagine, you see in the movies, all the hostages are huddled together in the bank or wherever in that section, and some are talking to each other, some are not. Okay. Then you have some professionals, but they're still hostages. So it could be the bank manager, or it could be even the security staff. Yeah. So the security staff, they know how to conduct themselves, but they're still hostages, and they need backup. They need someone to get them out of the situation. So you've got all these different characters in that hostage situation. Now, then you've got the hostage takers, the terrorists, right? And then what happens? You get a call goes out to the police. Yep, the police arrive, and then but then the police they call a specialist department. Yeah, because police do policing, military do military things, but you have SWAT team, or you have a specialist hostage team, and they're specialized in that. They're not going to talk about economics. They're there to save lives and deal with the hostage terrorists. And then after their job is done, they're gone. You don't hear about them. You don't know about them. That's it. All they come is to deal with the situation, and they're equipped to deal with the situation, and then they're out. They're not discussing with anybody. They're coming cold and codified. Now, they do talk to the hostages. They try to get to talk to the hostages because they'll speak. But the main people they're speaking to are the hostage takers. They're talking directly to the criminals. They'll say to them, "Okay, what are your demands?" And they'll say, "Oh, we want these demands." They say, "Well, how do we know that the hostages are still alive in there?" How many hostages you got in there? Do they need food, water, drink? What's going on? We need a summary of the situation before negotiations can start. See, so you need somebody coming in talking like that. So the only conversation the hostage rescue team will have with the hostages, right? They're not talking to them like having a nice chat, you know. When they're all talking with the hostages, they're trying to gather intelligence on the situation before they launch the attack on the hostages. Because the hostage rescue team is thinking, right, where are the hostages located? Are they sitting? Are they standing? What section of the building are they in? Where are the terrorists? Are there any terrorists in the same room as the hostages? Yeah. All they're trying to do is gather intelligence for what they're about to spring. So they'll say, "Oh, we want to put the hostages on the phone. We want to talk to them." But all they're trying to do is assess the mental condition of the hostages, and if they're alive, recognize their voices. But the hostages are thinking, when they're on the phone talking to the hostage, they don't even know it's a hostage rescue team. They just know it's somebody on the outside. They're just having to talk to somebody. Are you coming in here to save us? Yeah, okay, just remain calm. You know, follow procedure. So on and so. So that conversation. Yeah. So I said all that to say that I see Kaizo and this setup here is an intelligent gathering for a future plan of action. And that plan of action has to be so precise, because if you are working to rescue hostages and you mess up your plan, they could end up getting killed. You can mess up the people you're trying to save. So you have to get maximum intelligence on the situation. What's the building layout? Where's the water supply? Where's this? Is there glass? Is there concrete? How big are the windows? Where are the doors? Yeah. So in order to gather that intelligence on a situation, you need to be setting up forums and discussion groups and so on, because you're trying to gather intelligence on how people are thinking. Gather as much information. Because I mean, that's exactly how I see what Kaiser is doing today when he's just turned on this very stream. You know, is it true about the prices? You know.
Yeah. Shout out to you. Yeah. I mean, the prices. That media was wrong. The prices were never 0.8 euros per kilogram, and they're not increasing it to 200 euros per kilogram. The official pricing of uranium across the world is actually around £100 per kilogram, right? Sorry, $100 per kilogram, something like that. So no, the prices are not correct there. And the deals that they signed are bad, but not that bad. The issue really is IC3. Niger doesn't have a mining company. That's one of the biggest issues. And until Niger gets a mining company, there's no way they can actually leverage that price any higher than that. Because ultimately, what would happen is, out of spite, France may just go and do a deal with Namibia and even pay Namibia more than what they're willing to do with Niger, then just hold off the money, because Niger needs these Eurodollars to survive. So it's one of those situations. It's very difficult. This whole idea that we're being galvanized, Africa is freeing itself. Well, to an extent, yes, we're going down the right direction, but the money still talks. And unfortunately, Niger is not. All this stuff talking about Niger halting production of uranium is all false. Uranium has been moving just like normal. They're selling it at the normal price. Nothing has changed in regards to uranium. This is it's a regime change, and hopefully they can now understand, get the right civil servants to change the contracts, maybe renegotiate the contract and say, hey, look, Orano, that's the company that mines uranium in Niger. Hey, Orano, we want to have skills share exchange. We want to make sure that at least 50% of the high-ranking engineers are Nigerians. We want you to train. There's a training partnership program for the next 5 years for us to be fully sufficient in running these mines. You guys can only come in, inspect. We become at least 50% shareholders in your company. We'll buy in, right? That's what we can hope for, right? And I don't think it's going to happen, right? I know it's not going to happen, but that would be the ideal. Renegotiate the contracts.
This negotiation, you talk about negotiation, you talk about business and the price of this and the price of that. Is it true that business negotiation is the same as a hostage situation negotiation?
It can be, yes, if you don't have leverage. Yes, if you're coming in there as the weaker nation, correct. Yes.
Right. So when you're speaking, if you're seeing the situation as just a normal business situation,
change, right? That's what I'm saying. It won't change because we don't have leverage. That's why I'm saying they won't renegotiate because we don't have leverage. Niger doesn't have leverage.
Right.
In this situation.
Right. So therefore, it's all about leverage. It's all about power. Okay. So how does one get leverage for Black Africa and the Black African diaspora? How precisely you get leverage?
Have you got okay. The largest, you know the largest prison break that's ever occurred on this nation? Everyone can answer this question if they know what it is.
No, I don't know.
Do the rest of you guys know the largest prison breaks where millions of people escape prison all at once? There's actually two.
What kind of prison that has millions? What are you talking about?
Okay, there's two prison breaks. One was when
we're talking about prisons. We're talking about prison. No, not slave camps, not concentration camps.
Prison, then. Okay, sure. Let's just stick to the prison. Yes, the largest prison break. Millions of people escaped. Do you know what it was?
No idea.
I could have used Haiti as an example, but you say you don't want that, right? The largest prison break was Australians, prisoners deciding, hey, we're no longer going to be paying tribute to the Queen, and they became free and they created their own nation. Okay.
Oh, right.
What I'm saying, I see three black is this. Yes, we might be in prison, but why is the prison dirty, stinky, smelly? Why is the prison not having enough social etiquette? These are what I call the low-hanging fruits that we as prisoners have refused to do. There is no echo. That's an example of the fact that the toilet isn't clean. It decreases your living, what you call it, the level that you live, the living, I can't think of the right word right there, but increases your life quality. And that life quality reduction means that you can't have other ideas of how to enrich your life. If we are prisoners, which I agree with you in this model that you've created, still, we should be keeping the prison clean. We should be making sure that there's no disease. We should be making sure that there's no harm done to other prisoners. We have to create our own home guards, aka security. All the low-hanging fruits until, right, the moment where we galvanize enough power, you never know what the future will present itself, and now we can do a prison break. The point is, until we do any of these low-hanging fruits, clean the prison, right, make sure there's adequate security within the prison for all the prison members, right? We're not going to do anything else. That's it.
I challenge you on that.
Okay,
no.
Go ahead.
Because
with better conditions, which will allow people to think higher level to solve some of the problems.
I got the point. I understood what you said, but I disagree. It's not that I didn't understand. I could completely understand what you said, but I totally disagree.
So why do you disagree?
Okay, so allow me. Because to use an analogy, push it onto Africa. By keeping the prison clean and organizing it, sometimes when the prison management see that the prisoners are organizing and tidying up the cells and so on, because they like chaos, you see. Because as long as there's disunity, then it's kind of easier to manage. So they don't want things too tidy and too neat, because that means they're organizing. And if they're organizing, then there could be a threat to the system. If they're organizing effectively and they're cleaning their cells and cleaning their environment in order to work effectively against the prison system, then they'll prefer them to be living in squalor. So when Africans make their Pan-African attempts and efforts to come together and organize themselves, right? Those efforts are usually sabotaged, because it means if Africans can organize themselves effectively, just like they're trying to do internal trading, right? I think you mentioned that as well. So they prefer to be using the dollar rather than trying to limit inter-African trade, because inter-African trade is people cleaning up Africa themselves. They're trying to improve Africa themselves by trading with one another. And so the saboteurs, the terrorists, the white supremacist, racist, economic terrorists will try to sabotage effective intercontinental trade.
Now, I agree with you now that they'll try to sabotage, but why do you assume that sabotage will be successful? Don't you think that there's also skills retention, meaning the fact that the prisoners have learned how to organize is now instilled within themselves? That means they can reorganize in the future if they want to, because now they've actually developed the skills of organization. So my point is, whether this is successful right now or in the next 25 years or not, it doesn't matter. If we build the infrastructure, right, the clean prison conditions, the healthcare, security systems, the systems will live on. So whether we ourselves right now don't live on, to me, isn't quite as important as creating the infrastructure for galvanistic production. I want us to be in a point whereby when we're ready, right, for some reason, right, when there's enough of a zeitgeist, right, change in the spirit of the times in the African, we can walk through because we've got the infrastructure. So for me, I'm more worried about the skills exchange, transferable skills that we gain from organization.
Right. I'm still going to challenge you again. The Africans are already doing it every day, 24/7. They're making an effort. Right, so they're trying to survive within the hostage situation as best they can. They are doing things.
Well, no, it's not the best.
Hold it.
Okay, Rwanda, for example, is a perfect example. Rwanda has clean streets. Why doesn't other African countries have that? There are ways to improve your quality of life within the prison condition, and that's really my argument. We should.
And people are doing it though. They are doing it.
Rwanda is one country.
Yeah, but Africans are doing it. Other Africans are doing it in different ways. They're all making an effort. They're not just sitting there doing nothing. They're up doing something. So, but what something else is needed, and that thing that is needed is that hostage rescue team. And I'm afraid, I suspect that's going to come from the diaspora.
Sure. So, really, what you should be saying, IC3, is, and I guess here's where I disagree with your point is, I'm not saying that cleaning the prison is the only way out of this. I'm saying that is what will set the mindset so that when the diasporans come in, they can actually work with them. That's the point, right? The diasporans will do their part, and then
they are trying to clean the prison.
They are not effectively enough, right? That's the issue I have with them.
Yeah, because they haven't got the cleaning materials. They haven't got the cleaning materials. Blame that on the prison management. Blame it on the prison management.
No. Let's just allow Olajide to come in. Olajide, you've had the conversation. What's your thoughts so far?
Good evening. Good afternoon from Nigeria. What I want to say is just that no matter what we say, it all begins with us. You see, I'm happy when we Africans, I don't really bother much about the other side of Africa. I bother so much about the black side of Africa, the black man. And the reason why I say this is because that's where the poverty is, that's where the pressure is, that's where the how do you call them now, the creators of the prison, that's where they are milking from. What I want to say is it starts from what we are doing here. On this platform now, I introduced myself as a Nigerian, but we are actually discussing Africa, and we are all trying to learn from one another, and we are not so much of racists, tribalists. we're just seeing ourselves as brothers discussing how we are going to succeed. You see, most of the time when the prison managers try to use this divisive and division to split us, to keep us under control, under check, and to continue to milk us, I will tell you that somehow it has the help of a top prisoner. And this is the problem. For us to move forward, we need to first see ourselves as one, and we should first see ourselves as facing the same problem, and then come together to see how we can resolve. Yes, I'm not disputing it. It is only when Africa is united. I'm not disputing the impact of the diaspora. It is only when we back home are really united. We see ourselves, a Nigerian walks into Ghana and doesn't feel different from home. A Ghanaian living in Kenya doesn't feel different from home. And in such a way where we don't label ourselves, we don't stereotype, we try to bring ourselves together as one, then it will be more easier for the diasporans to come in and give the helping hand. Because if we have to look at it, what Africa needs is, we say, technological advancement, good streets, good living conditions, let me put it that way, and then infrastructures and things like that. Then the first thing, what are the problems that is making it difficult for us to achieve this? And we must first recognize that all the expertise to have what the Western world has, we already have it in our diasporans. Because we have engineers among them, top engineers. We have, in all fields of engineering, we have top. In all fields of science, we have top Africans performing well in the diaspora.
Yes.
Who can bring their knowledge to Africa to develop Africa? But what are the constraints? The first major constraint is peace. The first major constraint is peace. If you don't have peace, then there's no security. Oh yes, we have infrastructure deficit.
Right.
Fine, no problem. But if there is security, if every African nation sees the other as family, then it will be easier for these people to come in, settle in, then we build Africa together.
Okay.
So that is my own view.
Okay, so I have a few comments I want to make. Then we'll open up to everybody else. In terms of diasporans, I think African nations need to be more intelligent about bringing them in, not just for short-term economic benefit, like what happened in Ghana with the year of return, whereby they're asking them to return, but they're not allowing them to have easiness of the process of either buying land and investing. Right, that seemed like a very short-term goal oriented, or they just didn't see it. But I don't think they didn't see the short-termness of it. I think they wanted to make as much euro-dollar exchange from the Black Americans. I say if a country like Ghana wants to truly gain, let's say, partnership with the diasporans, they should make it easy for them to buy land. That's one. Two, make it easy for them to get residence, not citizenship, residence, because you don't want people participating in the politics unless they are tied into the nation state, right? So let them get residency, but not citizenship very easily. Another one is you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I want just on what you just said. You see, when a story or a whole process is founded on lies, you have what happened to Ghana. Ghana made it seem to those Americans or Black Americans returning as if it was only Ghana it was from Ghana that all those people were taken from. You understand? Now these people coming back home, they as Ghanaians now fell into the trap of, if we sell our lands to them, if we give everything to them, we might lose out. They might come here and then dominate us.
Yes.
Meanwhile, what Ghana was actually after was the dollars. Bring your money in. You understand? What Ghana was actually after was the dollars.
Right.
So, but you see, the problem with that narrative, and that's why they couldn't sustain it, is because they lied.
That's right.
They lied. The whole of Africa was affected by slave trade. And if we reach out to the diasporans, the Black Americans, and tell them, "Oh, every one of you come back home in honesty," we reach out to them, and when they come in honesty, since we're reaching out to them on a plain ground, it won't be difficult for us to give them the lands. It won't be difficult for us to relate with them. But you see, Ghana knows that out of those people coming back in their year of return, there are a lot of Nigerians, a lot of Senegalese, a lot of and they know that should they give them this leeway or free room or liberty, they would obviously fall behind. So, and these people would dominate them, and that was where the problem started. So for me, I think what Ghana did is still not what we want. It's not what Africa should be doing. That's my
100%. 100%. Can't add to that.
No. That's a good point. That's actually a really, really great point. Because if you know, and I looked at the whole Euro return, and I looked at the realities on the ground of the Black Americans that came in, and I realized that this was not a long-term process. They didn't seem to be. The Ghanaian government didn't come in with a so-called clean spirit of, well, we want these people here. We want them to benefit from the country, but we also want them to add value. Because what they could have done, also, they could have done what the king, the guy from Ethiopia did, which is create a small village or town, right? As in, just go. Ghanaian government have access to chiefs. They could have bought a large enough area, obviously, but create and say, hey, look, Black Americans, this is what we are offering you. You can buy land here. You can build your houses here. This will be owned by you, managed by you to the extent of the Ghanaian law allows. And this would prevent, let's say, because one of the issues I know, what they don't want is they want foreigners coming in who are going to now have a much higher living standard than the average Ghanaian, right? Because the average Ghanaian will say no, then of course that will cause tensions like what happened in Liberia, right? I know what the issues are, right? And this is part of the reason why I keep saying it's difficult for diasporans and continentals to work together, because of the deficit between the dollar and euro pound exchange rates. The Africans in Africa won't like it, and also the diasporans will feel superior when they do interact with Africans, because they'll be like, well, why is the system not running? Like, there's a lot of stuff that they would have taken on from the country that they've been to, and then now start feeling superior than treating the Ghanaians in a certain way. We've seen this happen before.
Well, if I must interject on that, you see, let me use Nigeria as an example. Yes, Nigeria didn't go out marketing itself as where all the slaves in Africa was actually taken from. But we all know that when they say slave coast, it was between Benin Republic and Nigeria. But obviously, slaves were taken from everywhere in Africa. But you know that there are a lot of Americans, Black Americans, probably that have traced their lineage down to Nigeria, coming back to Nigeria, and nobody seemed to see them as different. And these guys are really investing deeply. I know of one person in Jos that owns 200 acres of land.